Hey everyone, I'm your host, Courtney Massey,
And I'm your host, Valerie David, and this is the night session.
and we're back
We're
from
back.
outer space. I don't know the rest of the lyrics. Anyway, we're back. We were gone for a month, maybe 2 months, few
Oh,
months,
it's like two.
2 months. I have no sense of time. I've been working so much, which I want to explain that it's my fault that we have not done an episode since the Australian Open.
Yes, totally. Totally your fault.
And thanks, Valerie, for your support of me. We do. I love our relationship because I don't know if anybody who watches us watches Mythbusters, but we are kind of like Jamie and Adam, where we bicker like this weird couple, but yet when we come together to do a project, it's magic.
It's magic. Once we
Ex-
start talking about butts, that's
yeah, it's just butts bring people together, like two cheeks of a butt, like they're together. I don't know where I'm going with this.
just clapping together in harmony as we move
Also,
through life.
yeah, full disclosure, it is 1 a.m. right now.
Oh my god.
So I cannot be held responsible. So anyway, I've been working like crazy. Most of you probably know by now I work for Outside the Ball, and they have been on site in Miami. They were also in Indian Wells, and it's been crazy busy. And I've been running the Twitter account there, but also the Instagram account this week. We posted from Taste of Tennis, Jungle Island. We got Sangha playing basketball. Crazy stuff, awesome stuff. Which I'll probably mention a few things later on in the show. But yeah, so I'm sorry that I've been so busy that anytime I'm not working, I am trying to sleep and haven't been able to do the show. And I also didn't realize that Valerie was waiting on me because a lot of times she'll bring up, "Oh, this is a really good topic. We should do this. Hey, do you want to do this? Next week or whatever." So a lot of times, but then I forgot that I kind of told her, "Oh, well, I'm, very busy, so I don't know." And completely forgot that she was waiting for my lead.
That's
Um,
right.
so yeah, that was my fault.
Just waiting in the wings,
I know.
waiting
I
to be
kept her
called on
waiting. It's so sad. I hope you didn't cry. I'm sorry. So anyway, we have tons to talk about, and it's going to be. I think the first half of our webcast is going to be a little bit different than our other shows. Um, we've always covered like silly and serious, but I feel like we're going to have a little bit more serious in the beginning of our show.
Yes,
Usually
because
we go up and down. We take you on a roller coaster. I think this time we're trying to keep it even so you don't feel like a crazy person when you listen to us.
yes, yes, we're
Leave
trying not to do the
leave the
disjointed.
yeah. Yeah. Leave the crazy to us. Okay. So we're gonna start with street cred.
Street cred.
And I'm gonna let Valerie introduce our first topic.
Yes, our first topic in the world of tennis. Shit has gone down this year in 2016. We kicked off with the Australian Open and match fixing scandal. And just when we were kind of hoping that that would kind of fade into the background a little bit, early in March, Maria Sharapova called a press conference, and everyone was kind of freaking out because it was, when a player calls a press conference out of the blue, everyone starts conjecturing what it's going to be about, and a lot of people thought she was going to announce her retirement because really it was the only thing that made sense, other than people were jokingly saying she's releasing a new Sugar Pova flavor or something like that. But she's had a lot of injuries lately, and so people were thinking, well, she's just going to go to the next step and go into her businesses and stuff. But instead, she was in this hotel with this, bland beige curtain behind her, and she said that she had been taking this medication prescribed by her family doctor. That's how she put it, and it had an ingredient in it that, unbeknownst to her, had been put on the World Anti-Doping Agency's prohibited list starting in January. And so they had sent her a notice that she failed the test that she took in January because she was still taking this medication. And she said that, Wada sends out the lists and she got the email and she didn't click on the link and it's on her and she takes full responsibility, blah, blah, blah. And so everybody kind of went crazy because this was not what they were expecting at all.
No.
Yeah, but there was a lot of shock at first, and um, it was kind of a weird thing because everybody was kind of praising her for getting out in front of this because a lot of times people just say they're injured and they
Mhm.
just go on a kind of go into the background until all the hearings and stuff go on and no one knows anything that's happening, so they were praising
Mhm.
her for being forward about it. But then people started looking into what this mildronate meldonium thing was, and they found out that WADA had put it on the review list in 2015 because 4,000 Russian athletes were taking it. And it's a heart medication usually used by elderly patients with like heart failure problems. So it's
Mm.
like something that's like a serious medication like this. Why are a bunch of very in shape athletes taking it?
Mhm.
And in her press conference, Maria said that she had been getting the flu a lot and she had some weird EKGs and she has a family history of diabetes. And so that's why they put her on this medication, which right away was a little odd because they said that, this medication doesn't do anything for diabetes. And then you're thinking, okay, and she's promoting a candy company
Huh.
as a diabetic, which was like a big irony to me. But people started going, okay, this is starting to sound weird. And then the big kicker was that the medication is not FDA approved. So Sharapova, who lives here in America for many years, is going to some family doctor in Russia who's prescribing her this medication that a bunch of other Russian athletes are on. And so then kind of like the shitstorm hit. And you had a lot of Sharapova fans who were trying to be supportive of her, and then you have all the people like she's been doping for 10 years and she's been a cheater, and they should take all her trophies away, and it's like Lance Armstrong all over again and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of like sort of like exploded, and Sharapova came back with some things saying that she said she'd been taking it for 10 years, but she said not every day for 10 years. She took it as her doctor prescribed it. Her lawyers said that there are athletes that take it for performance enhancement, but at levels that are extremely high, and that Maria wasn't taking that. So there's kind of a lot of things are up in the air right now, and she's supposed to have a hearing, and if they consider that it was doping with intent, she could get 4-year suspension. But they think that if they can show that because she's disclosed that she was taking this medication beforehand when it was legal, and
Mhm.
so if she can prove that she just missed the email and there was no intent, it might be 2 years, and then they'll probably reduce it to one. So there's like right now we just don't really know a lot, and probably some of the details are things that'll come out in these hearings, and then it's kind of like then you can make a better judgment. But a lot of her sponsors, particularly Nike, dropped her immediately, although they said they suspended relations, which just means they could pick it up again if she's found innocent, or after the suspension, that kind of thing. But Head Rackets stuck with her, which then Andy Murray came out and said he didn't understand why they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked about this on the show before, and I know this is kind of a side note, but Andy Murray has so much balls now. Like
Yes,
he will go out. We will talk about him later on in the show
yes, he has a big
where
thing later in the show.
he will just say whatever the hell he wants. Like, and he will speak his mind. And before, he used to be so scared of controversy, and he used to shy away from anything that would be controversial and get him in the news. And the last like 2 years, he has
Yes,
been just speaking his mind, and it's glorious, and I love it. It's my favorite thing. Like, I've always loved Andy Murray. Like, his I've been a fan of his since his first debut in Wimbledon, when he was like this scrawny thing
Oh
that
wow.
was all legs, that no one thought he was going to be anything. And he is just hilarious and amazing. So that's all. So anyway, go on, Maria.
Yeah, so uh, this is like, it's, to me it's like a really hard thing because we've talked about this before about with drugs in sports where it's like, it's probably going on, you don't want to be naive and pretend it's not happening, but on the other hand you don't want to be completely cynical about a sport that you love and
Mhm.
be suspicious of everyone and think they're all cheaters.
Yeah.
So this thing with Maria, it's like, I think people that are saying she's like Lance Armstrong level are crazy because
Yeah, I think that's, I don't believe that either.
he like was, doing fake blood tests and getting other people involved and lying and threatening people and doing all kinds of horrible, horrible things. And this is just like, oh, I was taking this pill that may or may not even work. There's been like a lot of articles about how they don't even know if it's effective, but like Wada's stance is it doesn't matter. It's the in spirit of it. Like if everybody's taking it in order to try to cheat, then that it goes on the banned list. But I said if it comes out that Maria's not even taking it at high levels and maybe this is what her doctor was giving her, there's been a lot of feedback from particularly Russian people who think this is funny because it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe people here like taking 5 hour energy or whatever, it's like
Mhm.
everybody does things to try to get an edge. And I mean, if you look at a lot of players' Twitter accounts, they show them in, all these like tubes and tanks and getting oxygen treatments and
Mhm.
whatever. And it's like, where's the line between what's just training or treatment or whatever and cheating? So it's like, well, I don't think this is a good thing, and I am, and she said she knows she disappointed fans, and this isn't something she wanted to happen. I, my only thing about it is that I feel like if this happened to you and it was truly a shock, I felt like in her press conference she would have either been more upset or been super pissed. And she made a joke about, I would never announce my retirement in a hotel with a bad carpet like this. And so it was like she was kind of like not treating it that seriously herself. And it was kind of this carefully crafted PR thing, like, look, I got out ahead of it and I'm just an innocent victim. And then that kind of starts to make you more suspicious. So
Yeah.
I have real mixed feelings about it.
I have mixed feelings too, and I'll be honest, I don't know much about doping, and I tend not to follow it a lot of the time because it's tough because they're professional athletes, and you understand that they're going to take supplements of some kind, or things to get their body into shape. And I don't really know what she was taking. Like, she was taking a pill that had this drug in it, not straight
Right.
whatever this was, right?
Yeah, not straight Meldonium. Yeah.
So
And
I
what
don't.
she was saying, it was like it's even by another name and what she was using it as. So
Yeah, I think and especially if she's taking a pill, that has multiple ingredients in it and stuff, you should know what you're taking. But at the same time, I feel like it could be an honest mistake. And also, the thing about this is, I was talking to a friend about this. She was taking it for 10 years, and apparently, she listed it.
right,
So, and then it became on the ban list. And there are talks about how it might have still, even if she did look at the email, it might have still been in her system
right,
by the time they got the list to when her drug test was. And it was in the beginning of the year, you know, right when they banned it at the end of 2015, right?
I think it officially started in January, but I think or maybe it was like December something, like after the end of the season or
Yeah,
whatever.
but the list went out.
Yeah, but they said that they let people know like in September that it
Oh.
was on the like kind of like on the watch list or
Mm.
whatever, that it was probably going to be banned. But it's another one of those things, like how many of us read every single email we get, from like when your work sends you a newsletter or something, because that was Maria's defense, was she was saying that it's this like newsletter, and then you have to click like 6 links and enter a password and all this stuff to actually get this super crucial information.
Yeah. And one of the arguments that a friend brought up to me, that doping is so advanced that all these athletes are so far ahead of the doping organization. So they
Yes.
consider that as cheating, that they're so far ahead of that. Because I argued, well, if it wasn't illegal then, you can't take away her
Right.
awards because she wasn't doing anything wrong.
Right.
Now she is. So now, obviously she has to deal with that. But that was kind of my argument. Well, it wasn't illegal at the time, so you can't, fault her for that past. But, my friend claimed, well, they're just so advanced now that that's still cheating.
Right.
And so it's such a complicated issue
Yeah, well, a lot
because
of it's like a lot of it's a dialogue about legality versus ethics, because
yeah,
some people just like, because I think there were a few players that said they just would never do anything like that, even if it is legal, because they don't think it's right. But,
yeah,
if you're taking a vitamin C pill every day,
yeah, yeah, exactly. And
and another thing that apparently Rafa got very hot. He's threatening to sue everyone.
yeah, I
um,
heard.
because there were once again always the accusations about Rafa, basically because he has big biceps.
Yeah.
And then he had the long layoff with injury, and he came back and won everything, and that made people kind of suspicious. But my thing about Rafa, and this is just my pure opinion, was I had always thought that if Rafa was ever found out to have been doing anything, I figured he wouldn't have known about it, because he
That
has
is
this weird insular team that like controls his whole life. And I thought I wouldn't be surprised if they were like, give him, here, take this, and he wouldn't even know what he was taking because he trusts them. And when they asked Rafa about this, he was, very upset. And I work hard and I play a clean sport, and I've always done everything right, and she should face the consequences. And they said, "Do you look at the WADA list when it comes out?" And he says, well, "No, I have a doctor I trust."
yeah.
So it was kind of like, so basically the same exact thing could happen to you, because that's what
Yeah.
she did.
Yeah, that's her same story. and
Yeah.
and and also I I do think this press conference was super strategic and
Yes.
super smart. I don't think it was, oh no, I did something wrong,
Yeah.
we have to talk about this. I think it was like very strategic of coming out in front of this, because if she had waited and then the headlines, of course she was going to get more heat for it.
Right.
And this way she can write her own story as much as she could.
Right.
She can get her side out, immediately. And it was very, very smart on her part. And I don't, and a lot of people knock her for that. But I mean, I, I, I don't really know how you can knock her for just being good business, because she
Right.
runs businesses,
Right.
it's her career. So I can't really knock her for being, oh, she's shady because she, went out in front of this. Well, you kind of have to.
Right.
You have to kind of save face and be like, hey, I did something wrong. You're going to hear about it soon.
Yeah. Well, and because this is, it is her livelihood,
Mm-hmm.
because she's got her own businesses and things like that. And it's like, yeah, but if you're branded a cheater, a lot of people are gonna, or less people are gonna buy your product, and like, look at her sponsors dropped her and things like that. And so it's like she has to do what, to keep her, income coming in and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she's a businesswoman.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I don't fault her, but a lot of people are like, oh, she was so sincere, and it's like, I don't know about that. And the other thing that came out of this was that for a short time it kind of became open season on Maria from some of the players. Kiki Mladenovic in particular just went off about how, well, it's kind of like the Rasal thing, like no one likes you. Um, she basically said, let's face it, she's never tried to be friendly with anyone. She's not a nice person. And so basically kind of like, well, she deserved it. Couldn't have happened to a nicer person, kind of a thing. Um, so and that started up a debate about how Maria has always said she didn't make friends on the tour. She's here to do her job. And then they're like, and then pretty much no one spoke out in support of her when this happened, because that's the consequences of not having any friends on tour. So it's been a situation.
The headline for this month. It's been a situation.
It's complicated.
It is. It's everything that we've kind of talked about or we're going to talk about is just a mess.
Yeah,
And it's there are things that are tough to talk about.
right,
And it's, I'll probably listen to this back and think, "Oh, I should have said this. I should have."
right,
But it's a tough situation because and especially in Maria's case because we don't have all the facts. We don't have everything that they do.
right,
Um and we don't know what's just good PR. And
right.
assuming all of it is. So it's we have to kind of wait to see what the hearings say and what um information comes out and just wait, which is hard,
Yes,
which
yes,
is very tough for fans. They
yes,
want instant.
yes. We want the news, and we're also waiting to see if the next WADA band list is going to have Kukushkin on it.
What?
That was a joke.
I seriously was just like, wait, what? And then I realized you were joking as soon as I said what. And I was just like, oh my God, you scared me. I was like, are we gonna like be talking? Well, actually, I don't know why that scared me because that's amazing. Because if Kukushkin was on the ban list, can you imagine? No, like Kukushkin got banned for substance abuse. Can you imagine the jokes we would come up with?
I know.
So, but at first I go, no, not Kukut. Like I got so protective of him, like because of the webcast, he became like a baby. Like where I'm just like, no, not Kukushkin. I just got really emotional, like straight up.
That's so JD told me that one before I went in the podcast. He's like, so is Kukushkin going to go on the ban list? I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome.
I love how that was such a great joke, and I ruined it by really being emotional.
You got upset. And I was like, no, no, now everyone's going to think I'm starting rumors about
Oh
Kukushkin.
my gosh, I'm so sorry. So anybody who listens to our show should know that we use Kukushkin as a joke for because it sounds like weed.
Yes.
So that joke totally rocked, and I totally got way too emotional over that joke.
Oh, I should have.
I
I was gonna warn you beforehand, but then I went. But then it would ruin it because
and
you'll
then I ruined it
expecting
anyway.
it. Damn
I'm
you!
so sorry. I ruined it. It's so like I just was sitting there, and I was just like, "Wait, no!" And it was such a weird reaction because like it's the weirdest. I think that's the weirdest reaction I've had on this show this whole season.
This is what happens when there's a 2 month lag between webcasts.
It is. It is. I've been working too much and I lost my funny bone
You lost
apparently.
your Kukushkin connection.
I did. I got so emotional. That's weird. Anyway, we'll move on. I ruined
On
your
that
joke.
note, we'll move on.
I ruined your joke. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, and we're going to talk about
Uh,
Meldonium is apparently from Latvia.
yes.
And this tweet from Newsweek Europe, Mayor of Riga advertises city as home of Meldonium. With this pinup poster which I love pinup, and it's just weird. Like,
I
hey, come
know.
to Riga and get this drug,
Yes.
and all these pretty pinup women.
Yes. And they said that the mayor has been doing this all over his Twitter and Instagram, that he just thinks it's like the funniest thing ever.
Well, I mean, hey, he's getting publicity now, and it's in Riga. You know, Latvia as a whole doesn't get a whole lot of news play,
We gotta make the most of it.
so he gotta go. This isn't flattering, but we're gonna ride this wave,
That's right. And
and
then
you gotta do it.
and this is scary too, because I saw some headlines that said that the sale of Meldonium had doubled since the
Mm-hmm.
announcement for Sharapova. And they said part of it was because it was like, wow, look what it did for her. So people went and bought it. And then
Really? Like she never beat Serena.
I know, and which a lot of Serena fans have been making cracks about that.
Yeah.
But then they said it's also the people that are actually taking it for health reasons were afraid that the price would go up now that it was so popular, so they were stockpiling it. It's like
Oh
this
my
world is
god.
so fucked up.
Well, that's like in America with our guns, where
Yes,
they're scared Obama's going to take their guns, so they're stocking up on guns and bullets.
yes,
It's weird. It's weird. But when people think, and Twinkies, when everybody thought Twinkies was going to go away, and everybody went and stocked up on Twinkies.
yes. I don't understand. I understand that even less.
I haven't had a Twinkie in a long time.
they're not
I
good.
used to love Twinkies as a kid.
Yeah, they're little balls of poison.
Well, everything in America is little balls of poison.
No, that's
And
true.
I do not eat well. Like I will first admit that I poison my body more than Sharapova. Like let's face it. Um,
Meldonium's got nothing on me.
but yeah, but it's funny. I went to Riga and I'm a little disappointed. No one offered me Meldonium like on the street corner. Like, hey ladies,
Wants some Meldonium?
yeah, like pull it, like having that trench coat, like pulling it back with like all these pills lining it, and like watches on the other side.
There you go.
I'm still real talk, you guys. I'm so mad I ruined that Kukushka joke. I'm so mad at myself right now. Oh my god, I will never live that down because I just got hella emotional over Kukushkin.
Well, it shows my delivery was just so good.
No, you were so good. Like you were so straight. You were the perfect straight man.
I
'Cause, like
know.
you know how I can't say jokes. Like I'm usually pretty sing songy, and you were so straight. Where I'm just like, oh my god, wait, he's in trouble. And like I thought this was like breaking news right now. And then you were like, Kukushkin woman. Oh, right. Yeah. Weed. Right. So dumb. I'm sorry. All right, moving on.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so
Oh god.
yeah, I dread this segment so damn much.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about the sexism stuff, and I'll give it to Valerie.
It's so overwhelming.
I know. I'm
Uh,
gonna go smoke some Kukushkin while you talk.
yeah.
Just kidding. Just kidding.
So the wonderful Indian Wells tournament, which had, a very poor history with the Williams sisters, which finally gotten past that. Things were looking good. Serena and Vika had an awesome final, one of the best trophy ceremonies ever. They were really awesome towards each other. They gave these great speeches. They joked around. It was like there were, tons of people there enjoying the day. And then this asshole, who is the CEO of Indian Wells, Raymond Moore, it came out that that morning at some kind of event, he spoke about tennis. And he said, in my next life, when I come back, I want to be someone in the WTA because they ride on the coattails of the men. They don't make any decisions and they're lucky. They're very, very lucky. If I was a lady player, I'd go down every night on my knees and thank God that Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal were born because they have carried this sport. They really have. And then we killed him.
We wanted no more.
No more. That's right. And he and if this was like bad enough, like the on your knees thing, like
Oh my
I
god.
like gasped when they
Yeah,
read that out loud
that was really
on
bad.
Tennis Channel, which I was impressed. Or was it Tennis Channel or ESPN?
Yeah.
I'm not sure who was
No, it
covering it.
was yeah, it was ESPN.
Okay, they
And
actually discussed it. Yeah,
but the thing was it was like a breaking news thing. I don't think they didn't prepare for it. And
yeah.
I remember when they talked about it, they were like, who was it? One of the female commentators. Was it Chrissy? I can't remember who it was. Was like, "Thanks for warning me," because she was so pissed and she
That's
didn't
right.
know how to like she didn't know what to say because she didn't know about it and she didn't know about it until they read it on
Oh,
air.
jeez.
And I can't remember
Yeah.
who it was. I can't remember who was commentating at the time. But it was
Right.
one of the females and they go, "Well, thanks for telling me ahead of time."
Yeah. While my blood boils over.
Yeah, it was oh my gosh. I remember when this first came out and I read it and I just went, "No way.
Yeah.
No way." And
And
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say this was bad. Like this was bad enough. Like I was like, oh my god, oh, I can't stand this. And then he went on and he talked about, oh, but there are some women now, like Jeannie Bouchard and Muguruza, who are very attractive. And somebody said, well, do you mean their tennis is attractive or that they're physically attractive? And he's like, oh, both. You know, there's some attractive women out there, really attractive. And it was just like, how many mimosas did this guy have at brunch before he
he,
gave this speech?
he sounds like that creepy old dude. Like
Yeah.
he has that vibe to him. But I think the most angry thing about the whole thing is everything kind of went down pretty quickly. Like the storm just took off on Twitter
Yes.
and there was outrage just pouring out. And that and he presented the trophies to Victoria and Serena.
Yes.
But the kind of storm they kind of didn't really know until after the match. And then after the match it was really apparent that like shit had gone down and everybody's in an uproar. And then the most aggravating thing was he was back on court to present the trophies to the men.
Yes.
And I think everybody really wished that he would have kind of stepped out of that.
Yes.
And I think that also led to, not really accepting any form of apology because it was just so badly done.
Yes.
Not that we would really accept, I think, much at that point because it the issue with this is I think I take a very serious stance on this because of the line about going down on their knees.
Yes.
That type of language is actually very abusive.
Yes.
It is kind of a control thing and it is, it's very men dominance over women. And the language is very abusive and I think most women around the world unfortunately have an instance where they have been abused, whether it be catcalling, groping, um, something very serious to something maybe you don't consider as serious as catcalling. I think a lot of women, I certainly have many stories personally that I can tell. I won't, but I can tell about abuse that I have faced in my life, both physical and verbal. And and I think it's hard for men to understand the fear and not just holding us back professionally, but the language that's being used to hold us back in so many other ways. And how if we don't change the language, especially, I don't think we can grow as a society. And and that really struck me when he said that. And that's why I was very happy when he stepped down. And I had an argument with someone on Twitter who I won't say his name, but believes that that was too harsh and we're just being politically correct. And it is the role of the angry women to accept the apology.
Oh my god, I was just gonna bring that up. That's
That
the
was
same thing that's been making me upset because when you started talking about abuse, when I saw that tweet, I went, that's what abusers say.
it, that's where I'm getting at. Yeah. He defended the abuse by saying something so abusive where and I kind of I kind of made light of it. Well, not really. I was more sarcastic where I said, "Oh, the role of women. Well, it looks like I went off script." Because it is very dangerous to say, "Oh, well, we're just supposed to accept the apology of an abuse."
Right.
That is very dangerous. And the thing is, this seems like a very minor incident. Oh, he just said, women should get on their knees and pray that Roger and Rafa exist. No big deal. But the fact is, on a serious note, there are women, a large amount of women, that are getting killed for simply saying no to a date or to have sex. And I think as women, we kind of see that and we realize how abusive language is in our society that even just something so small, it doesn't help the attitude and the behavior towards us
Right.
or minorities. And you look at Donald Trump. Donald Trump's speech is full of hate and causing riots and where you might laugh at it and think this is so ridiculous, but it's causing something greater. So I think it's a smart thing for him to step down because I don't think we should tolerate any abusive speech. If you're sexist or if you're, against equal pay, that is one thing. We can fight that on a different issue. But if you're going to
Right.
go out there and say anything abusive like that and use abusive language, there should definitely be no tolerance for that whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. I agree. No, I agree. And that was my thing is it was that a lot of the people were saying it was just one comment. And I am somebody who actually doesn't like that, people can't make a joke, people can't say anything, then they have to
Mhm.
apologize it, then they have to take classes, and then they can't ever say anything anymore. It's like I
Mhm.
don't like that culture of where no one can say anything anymore.
I'm
But
the
my
same way because I like comedy. I'm a huge comedy fan and I don't like uh trying to police comedy so much. So I'm right there with you.
right. And so my thing was that okay, if this guy had had a couple too many mimosas and had said like, "Oh, that Ginny Bouchard's really hot," or if he had said, "Oh, the women, get to get a lot of stuff because of Federer or whatever." It's like if there was just one
Oh,
thing.
what the heck? Sorry, a pop
That's
up
hard. I
came.
was like, "What? What are you, I'm talking here."
Sorry.
Um, damn you, pop up. If it was just one of those, but he said many things, and he kept going. They said it wasn't like somebody like ambushed him at a party and said asked him some kind of question he wasn't prepared for. They're like, this was a scheduled event. He was prepared to speak. If you watch the video, he was completely comfortable saying all of this stuff, and he just kept going. And it wasn't just a comment. This was indicative of this is how he feels about women, that this
Mhm.
is they should be on their knees and they should look pretty and they should just shut up and be thankful that we give them what we do. And this is the person that's running a tournament that all of the WTA plays at. It's like,
Mhm.
no,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah, and that's another issue. He represents both sexes.
Right.
It would it I mean it's still awful, but maybe it would have been slightly different if he was just at a men's event. We would all get angry. We would still have the same reaction, I feel, But at the same time, when he's representing both men and women at the same event, and he has such a high position,
Yes.
we don't want people who see women that way in charge of an event where women play and grow and it's their career, and because he's not going to have their best interests,
No.
and that's not great for anybody.
No. And that makes you, this is another thing about, well, it's just words or whatever, and it's like, no, it isn't. It's a, it's a whole pervasive attitude, and this is someone who has
Mm-hmm.
power. So
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that can be in on those decisions about, oh, only one women's match will be on the center court and there'll be five men's matches, and things like that, and money and sponsorships,
Mm-hmm.
TV, whatever. He can have a say in all of these things and perpetuate this attitude among all the people around him, to snowball. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
no. And that was why I was really kind of surprised and happy that Patrick McEnroe said on air
Yeah.
immediately after this guy should step down. This is
Mm-hmm.
outrageous. And it made me really mad that it didn't happen right away, because I think they were waiting to see if women would just take that apology
Yeah.
and
the
forget
role
all about it.
a role of just
Oh,
accepting an apology and letting it
yes.
go. That is the role of the angry women,
Yes.
I have been told.
Yes. And oh, and we have to go and improve ourselves, because that was
Mm-hmm.
the other part of that too, is go away,
Yeah.
accept the apology, and work on making yourself better.
Yeah.
Learn how to accept this abuse better.
Yeah, learn how to accept the abuse and just be better. Just be better. Why can't you just be better at life?
Yes.
And it's, oh gosh, there's so many layers to this.
Yes. And
And
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to get to Serena.
Yes, go ahead,
Gave
Serena.
a bunch of comments immediately after, and then later, and immediately after, she pointed out the thing about, I don't think women should be on their knees thanking anybody like that,
Mm-hmm.
and said that she and Venus have been a big part of the sport. She brought up that the US Open women's final sold out before the men's, and she said, and there was no Roger Federer playing in that final, was there? That sold out at first.
Mm-hmm.
So she was really upset about this. And Vika gave a really long statement too about that this is outrageous. And you were talking about, like, the kind of attitude of some people on Twitter and things like this. Stan Wawrinka got asked about this topic, and the guy who asked the question said, "What do you think about Raymond Moore getting kicked out of his job for just making this comment?" And it was like this leading question, like, it's not a big deal, right?
Yeah, isn't this stupid?
Isn't
Like,
this dumb? And I was like so happy, because everybody's now been afraid, like, what's their favorite player gonna say, because people have been kind of shocked. And Stan came out and said, I thought it was horrible what he said, and I don't believe in anything about that. And I like he said it, because he said it was normal that he should lose his job.
oh, Stan. You've
Stan,
made me fall in love with Stan.
I know.
You've
He's
made a lot of people fall in love with Stan.
I've tried my best. And he still hasn't paid me. He still hasn't gotten down on his knees and thanked me.
I don't know if you can hear me clapping, but I'm clapping with that. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
But Stan was lovely. He Some people have complained about people talk about their daughters, and kind of, I have a wife, so I'm not sexist, but he was very definitive in that, I don't think, I think women should have equal pay. I think, women should be equal. He goes, I don't want my daughter to have less than a boy, So I was okay with him saying it, because it was not just some, like, little excuse thing, like, I have black friends, you know.
Yeah, in Blackbird.
It was just like, no, this guy was totally wrong. So yeah, and that was the thing about, uh, we should get to Djokovic. I don't know if what's our next tab? Is that the one with all the
Our next
tweets?
tab is all the tweets.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about because what happened was the Raymond Moore thing was bad enough, and then they asked Djokovic about it, and Djokovic said, "Well, men are filling the stands more, and so they probably should get more of the money." And then he said, "But I'm all about women power, and women are amazing because they can play. They have all this weird stuff with their bodies that are very different from men's. They have all this hormones and stuff."
I love how he just didn't say periods.
No,
Like
just couldn't
I
say it.
and I made a joke on Twitter. I go, the number one tennis player in the world, Novak Djokovic, talking about women's periods in a press conference after he won a tournament. Tennis is weird. Like, and I feel bad laughing at it because I understand, the misstep, but when you kind of have to stand back and just laugh at that point
Yeah.
because he's talking about periods. And also, like, I'll give him a little credit cuz I talk about it, but I'm a woman. So I think that, like, there is a double standard there where men say it, but there's a reason. There's a definite reason that men talking about hormones and women's issues are a little off base.
Yeah.
But I do make a joke. So that's why I'm going to give him credit because I do make this joke that I'm amazed that women could play such competitive tennis on their period because I just curl up into a ball and like weep until it's over. I don't want to move. Like, I have issues moving. Like, I just don't want to. So I did make that joke. I do make that joke all the time. And so I felt bad. Like, I felt like a hypocrite kind of being mad at Novak for saying it. But it's a misstep. It's a misstep.
Yeah, and what it was like I think that he in a way I think it was a deflection because I think he was then trying to say, "Look, I love women. I'm interested in their issues and problems that they have and I'm understanding and I have a wife and a child." And so it's like I do not put him in the same class as Raymond Moore. I mean, I don't
No,
think he was trying to be an asshole in any way.
no, I
But
don't.
what ended up being offensive about it was if he had actually said, like, women are amazing because they're great athletes and it sucks they have to stupid menstruating every month and whatever. Like, if he had actually just come out and been like straightforward, but the way he talked about it, like, well, women's hormones and stuff, we don't need to go into it. It was almost like, women with their cooties and things, like, ew, like,
It,
I don't even know how they
it's
can even play tennis.
yeah, it was just a weird. First of all, I just thought it was weird that he didn't really need to say it. Like,
Yeah,
it's like when they ask these guys these questions, it could be really simply answered. But then
yeah,
they go, "Oh, I'm for women." But and then they
but
go on for
yes,
10 minutes and then you're
yeah,
just like, "Wait a minute. Woohoo. Woohoo. Where are you going?" And they just start talking about hormones and stuff and like we all know that women get the shit end of the deal
yes,
and we have to go through a lot where we go through pain every month and also the Larry Wilmore show had a great they have tampon Tuesdays
oh god,
where they throw tampons in the audience and they kind of make it known that women are paid less but they get taxed more on their feminine hygiene products than
yeah,
men's hygiene products. And so we have a lot to deal with on a
yeah,
different spectrum. And it is true. Like I said, I joke that I'm amazed that women can be so competitive and so great while they're like I feel like my uterus is going to fall out. I'm dying. Like I have so much respect for that.
yes,
But it's weird when it was weird how Novak said it because it was just like I'm for women. Like look at their hormones and stuff. That's crazy. And but like at the same time, he's like, well, I mean, they have to go through all that, and that's great and everything. But like, men are still bringing in, more people, and it should be whoever brings in more people, like a popularity contest, and that's based on your salary.
right.
So it's like working on commission. Like, how many people can you get
Yeah, you're
from?
hawking out front of the tournament, like, "Hey, hey, come and see me in my next match."
Yeah, they turn into traveling salesmen. Which is a very weird kind of thing. And I understood he was trying to be fair, and I feel like I like Novak a lot, and I wasn't really mad at him for this. I was just more like, "Oh god, like
Yeah.
really?" It was more just like a shaking of my head, like he didn't word it correctly. He, he went on this tangent that didn't need to go, and it was just this weird. It was weird.
Yeah.
And but I feel like he was trying to be too correct because I feel like he wanted to make everybody happy. He wanted to not bite the hand that fed him, which are the
Right.
tournament directors and the main people up top who are saying these offensive things, while also pleasing fans that are already kind of on the fence with Novak.
Yes.
And he wants to be liked, and he doesn't want to upset people. And he kind of has always seemed to be very supportive of women, as far as I'm aware. Um, and you know, I don't think he's ever said anything really that weird before.
No, not in that order. And it kind of made me laugh because someone did an article of all the stupid shit men have said in the on the tour, and they brought up Songa, and Songa also said hormones and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's what guys say. They women have hormones and stuff. It's
and
weird.
stuff. And it's just like, and really, guys, do you realize you have hormones too? I
Yeah.
Because there was also that, see, this is the other thing that got upsetting to me, which is what this post is about, we can get into, was that this opened up this whole shitstorm on Twitter with a lot of really ugly ass comments from men
Mhm.
who seem to get super defensive about it, like, women are trying to get away with something, and coming up with all these stupid arguments and stuff. And a lot of Nole fans then got pissed that people were saying Nole was sexist, and so then they were getting defensive about that, and it turned into like a fandom war on top, and it's like a lot of like the main issues got lost, and it was like
Mhm.
nobody was talking about anything. They were just all trying to be as antagonistic as possible, and that
Yeah.
was upsetting to me. But and of course the famous Sergei Stakhovsky got involved, known for saying all kinds of horrible sexist things.
Have
And
I have I talked about on this podcast how awfully torn I am with Sergey?
yes, you did the last time we talked about him being an
Oh
asshole.
god. It's so hard for me to talk about it because he's such an asshole with this issue about women. And it's hard because he really like he donated to my friend and like he's been very nice to me in person, and it's just like I hate talking about this and anytime he says something stupid I'm like, please stop, please, you're hurting me.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of time a lot of the players on tour like him and stuff, but then when this stuff really hit the fan, there started to be more players that started saying, you're always a jerk. And so I
Yeah.
went, okay, well then it's not just exclusive to Twitter, being a Twitter troll, because
Mm,
there are some people that are like that. They're like fine in person, and then when they get online, they have like a split personality or something, and they just become dicks because it's you know.
yeah, I'm thinking of one person in particular, but I won't talk about it. Yeah, but there are some players that you're just like, what is up with you?
Yeah,
Hormones.
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 So Nicole Gibbs, who does some writing for WTA Insider, is pretty awesome, and she
She's
went on a
amazing.
Twitter crusade against all of these arguments about that men are just better. The stupid men play 5 sets thing reared its ugly head like 1,000 times. And one of the players, Lajovic, was talking about this. Well, why should women, get paid more when women work more? A construction worker works 5 hours and another one works two. Should they get paid the same? And I went and looked up, and Lajovic played a total of one 5 set match in 2015 and two 4 set matches. And the majority of the rest of them were 2 sets, often because he lost very quickly. So it's like, why should you be getting more money than a woman who actually might have ended up being on the court way more than you have, because Nole plays 5 sets quite often. It's an interesting
Mm-hmm.
thing where they're talking about women riding on the coattails of men. It's like pretty much everybody from like 7 on down is riding the coattails of the guys above them.
Mm-hmm.
So this whole thing is just crazy. But Nicole, I said, went on a rampage here. If you want to scroll down to, I'll yeah. Oh, here's the Andy. Here's the
Yeah,
Andy
I
stuff
didn't
she
know what you
started
said.
in.
Scroll down, and then you didn't tell me when. So
Yeah, we can talk about the Andy stuff.
we can. Well, we talked about how Andy just has no fucks anymore. Like he just gives no fucks at all. He's like, I'm going to speak my mind and take people down. And he said the greatest line ever to be tweeted. Stako, my man, how's things?
I know. It's like Andy won his 2 slams and his Olympic gold. He's like, I've got a hot wife, I've got a baby, I got money. I can say whatever the fuck I want now.
he he has unleashed himself, and it's the greatest, Murray.
Andy
The
Murray
greatest.
unleashed.
It's the greatest. I love it. I am so in love with him for doing everything he says is just amazing. So it started because Andy made comments about um talking about Novak, said that it should be about, who sells more tickets and break it down to stats. And Andy made the brilliant point of it's very difficult to do that in a group tournament
Right,
because, you buy tickets by court. So if usually, except for I guess finals, but still, like you kind of know, or you kind of just buy a ticket and whoever's on there that day.
right,
And he said, if someone buys a ticket and there's a Sergei Stakhovsky match on center court and a Serena match on center court, they're going to see Serena. That's
right,
why they're there.
right.
And so he kind of called out Sergey. And Sergey was not happy, and they started getting in this debate, which was just a mess, really.
Well, and it was funny because he said that it depends on where you are, because they travel all over the world, and he said Laura Robson at Wimbledon would have a packed court and
Yeah.
Stakowski wouldn't. So he mentioned Stakowski twice in this interview.
And both times, Stakhovsky ain't getting shit.
Yes, and so Stakowski came back and said, "Well, your story falls apart anywhere outside of the UK." And Andy was like, "Really? Name a place where there might be more fans for you than Laura Robson." And he said, "She can come to Kiev." And Andy was like, "I played in a Davis Cup match in Ukraine, and there must have been 1,000 people there max." And I love this because then later on, like a day later, Laura Robson came on and said, "I don't know how I got into this conversation, but I really don't want to go to Kiev."
Poor Laura. Oh
So
my gosh.
it was just Andy being awesome. And Andy came out in interviews and said this argument is ridiculous, and, women should get equal pay. And, um, you know, why are people still, saying these unflattering things, and it's outrageous. So, but I know a lot of people were disappointed because they're like, we love that Andy speaks out for women's tennis, but it's really sad that he's the only one.
Yeah. I kind of made that point too because I wrote a tweet. I ended up deleting it because no one responded to it. But I was asking people if other male tennis players have spoke out for women because I honestly only hear about Andy, and of course I heard Stan later on.
Right,
Um, but no one's really been as vocal as him. Any
right,
chance he can take, he speaks out for women and inequality, and it's really beautiful to see that. And you know, I don't know. It's unfortunate that we don't see more of it. It really
Right.
is.
And I then there were a lot of male tennis players that were backing up this idea of we work harder, we're better, more people come to see us, we're awesome. And there's been a lot of stuff on Twitter about men are just objectively better athletes. And Andreen, who a lot of people should know on Twitter, she's got a blog, Solely Tennis Travels, I believe, is the name. And she had written this piece about male privilege, and she said maleness is the default from which all values spring. And it's like, and that's this idea that it's always like tennis is men's tennis, and then women's is like this pale version trying to attempt to be men's tennis, and it'll never be as good because women aren't as strong. And there's no appreciation for what women bring to the table. It's like women are never judged just on themselves. It's always, well, a man can hit a 130-mile-per-hour serve and yours is only 110. So therefore you suck. There's, nothing about maybe women's tuition or artistry or flexibility or, it's just like romance novels are considered the genre of women writers, and so therefore it never gets any respect because that's the women's realm. And that's kind of how sports is. It's just,
Yeah.
and tennis is actually the best one because there actually are joint events and it's
Mhm.
acknowledged that the women's side of it exists. If you've got basketball and soccer and things like that, they're completely separate and they're not acknowledged as even, like being the same sport most of the time. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So
Totally agree.
a lot of people were hugely disappointed at how all these feelings came out from a lot of the male players and executives. And the ATP, who released this bland statement that basically said it's economics, we're a sports and entertainment business. And it's always a battle between, it's that same thing kind of like about the drug thing about between ethics and legality. It's like yours is pure economics, but then you have to look at it as, well, people are, spectators are sexist, so they'll go to more men's matches. The commentators are sexist, so they keep telling people at home that men's tennis is better, so people start to believe it. They don't
Mhm.
show as many women's matches. They don't have women's matches on center court. And so it's like women have all these strikes against them. And then these men are saying, well, if you ever bring in more money, then we'll let you have more money. As if this is, like they're so gracious and awesome.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, there's like all these things against women, but somehow they're supposed to, rise above.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just that we have to work so much harder than everybody else to get a shot. And men just think, well, what are you talking about? I just played 5 sets. And
Right.
it's it's hard. It's something that women have had to face, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about Billie Jean and the press conference
Yes.
coming up. Um, I'll say some more things about male privilege.
Yeah. So what's our next
Is
tab?
there anything on here left? I think we
There's
went
probably
out.
a lot of stuff because that stuff went on and on.
Oh my gosh, yes, it
Oh,
did.
and she.
Oh, we were gonna talk about tacos.
Oh yeah, go ahead, and because I didn't really understand what the hell was going on with that, but
So
go ahead.
it was the how do you say his name?
I think it's Dusan Lajovic.
Dusan. Okay, he said that he would rather watch Serena eat tacos than watch Sergey's match. And so during his match today against Marin Cilic, Sergey offered to buy tacos for anyone who wanted them. And he bought 50, the first 50 customers got free tacos by Sergey instead of going to Dusan's match.
Oh god.
And it's I if I was in Miami, I totally would have got free tacos because first of all, it's tacos. And like, yeah, you're buying me tacos. Like you might say sexist awful things, but now you're kind of working for me. Like you're giving me tacos. You say really bad things about my taco, but you're giving me
Oh
tacos.
god. Yeah, see, this is what I was because Lyovich was talking about all like women shouldn't get as much money, but then he was
Yeah.
saying like, "Oh, but I'm for equal pay," and then he made that tacos comment, and I went, "Was that like a sexual thing? Like, I want to see Serena eating tacos."
Oh, I didn't take it as a sexual thing. I took it as like people just don't like Sergey.
Yeah, yeah,
And
which
then it seemed like
could be.
Sergey, like that's how he took it because he was just like, well, during your match, I'm going to buy tacos for everybody instead of them going to your match. That's what I took it as.
Yeah, which then it's another thing where it's like a lot of times it's like, does Staikovsky mean half the shit he says, or does he just like riling people up and causing commotion and having all the attention on himself?
I don't know, but he owned the taco. He really did buy people tacos, and I love that. And I'm like, I wish I was there.
He's true to his word, at least.
Yeah, he was true to his word. I love how you posted photos. Like, I'm here. No one wants tacos.
Oh
Like, oh
god.
my god, this is really happening. And I think everybody at Outside the Ball, I think, was working on stuff and was not even on location at the time. And I was like,
uh,
no, someone has to go get
Someone
tacos.
has to go get tacos.
I'm not there, so I have to live through one of you. Um, but yeah, so that's weird. All right, we'll go to Federer's press conference yesterday.
Yeah, so
So,
this is another touchy subject because Roger gave his press conference and it was actually kind of funny because they started off the press conference with, "So, some things have been going on this week." And Roger was like, "Really? Fill me in."
oh my god.
And then he went, "You've been waiting for this, haven't you?" So he knew that
Yeah.
he was going to be asked about these things and he
I
had to
think
be.
all the top guys knew it was coming.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, I better. You look at what happened to Nole. I better get my ducks in a row. So when people were initially tweeting out the press conference snippets, they snippets. What kind of a word? Yeah,
Snipplet.
that's awesome. We'll have to use that in future.
Snippets.
Snippets. Um, they took this quote. I mean, I'm all for equal prize money, and that's kind of what people ran with, which was an important thing to say. He made sure he got that right out there, and he does say that they fought for more prize money in the ATP because which they did try to get for the lower ranks for early rounds and things like that. And he said I was aware that it was going to impact the women's game, which I was happy about. Both sides were growing. So he says these good things and he talked about, the women's game has produced a lot of women's champions and it's awesome and but he pointed out that at some tournaments it's hard to get equal prize money. It's up to the tournament to director to decide if he wants it to be that way. So when people saw his full comments, which he kind of, expanded upon, which a lot of people mentioned that he's had an ongoing battle with the tournament director at Basel, which is his home tournament, that he used to get the appearance fee and all that kind of stuff, and that they haven't for like the last couple of years, like because they can't agree on stuff. And so if Roger doesn't have power at Basel, it
Yeah.
kind of indicates that this is a complicated issue that you can say, oh, we want women to have equal pay, but you have to deal with like 500 other people who might not feel that same way. Because it's like the ITF controls the slams, but a lot of the other smaller tournaments have all different kinds of histories and different people controlling them. And so Roger gave this very diplomatic answer, and it's kind of like what you said about Nole, where it's like trying not to offend anybody. Like, hey, women should get equal pay. They're awesome. I love them. But
It's complicated.
it's complicated. And I know a lot of people got angry that Roger did not get nearly the amount of shit that Nole did for saying similar to the same things, but Roger didn't say anything about hormones.
Yeah, I think once you bring hormones into it, people go, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, and that's what was it was like the same issue I had with Raymond Moore is what I had with Nole to a lesser extent, but it was just he didn't stop. He didn't just say one
Yeah.
thing. He said a bunch of stuff that was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, stop talking."
Yeah. I don't know why these guys go on like a 10-minute thing. Like just go, "Oh, I'm for equal pay." End it.
Yeah,
Like that's it. Like you don't have to explain it. It's not their job.
right.
You know what I mean? And just saying, you know, I'm for equal pay and I hope, I wish them the best in it
Yeah.
in their
Well, I think a
field
lot
or
of it is
something.
because they aren't. And so it's like they feel they have to say that, but then
Mm.
it's like brings something out in them that they feel they have to like create the lie around it or something,
Well,
you know?
I think it's kind of defensive where they're like, because if somebody asks you a question and there's a really simple answer, but you feel defensive, so you have to explain for 10 minutes
Yes.
and you have to like justify yourself, and then you have like 10 different trains of thoughts.
Yes.
So you're
Kind of
just like,
like our
but
podcast.
yeah, exactly, like we do here. And I think that's what happens and we can't say anything just straight out. And they have that problem too.
I have that problem too. Well,
Maybe
and
maybe that's why we're so sympathetic.
we're sympathetic. Well, Roger's always been wordy, and I kind of expected him to because he's Swiss. He's neutral.
Mhm.
He was very carefully not to piss anybody off. And and what it was like people didn't get pissed off because it was a much more carefully crafted answer.
Mhm.
And I know what Nole had said that he was surprised that he got so much flack for this, and he had released an apology on Facebook that was actually almost made it worse because he said he was operating on adrenaline and euphoria when he was
Hormones.
initially hormones when he was initially asked that question, so he didn't word it correctly. And then he proceeded to give an even more vague and rambling restatement of what he'd already said. So it was just like, why bother? Why just stop talking? Just say, I'm sorry if anyone was offended and shut up. And so there's a quote that I got from him from later, which I believe he made after talking to Billie Jean King. And he said, "We all deserve more of the wealth distribution from the tournaments. I feel very sorry if I hurt my female colleague tennis players. I have a huge respect for all of them. I never had any intention to offend them or come up with any negative connotations in my statement. I don't see any differences between the genders, except for hormones. I'm added that. I am
I
for
know.
equality in the sport." And he said, "I was shocked at the effect this story had in the media. What Raymond Moore said was very inappropriate, and people thought I was speaking in line with him." So I think that was part of it too, was that if Nole had answered this question at some other time in the year, people might have been disappointed, but maybe not as enraged.
Well, also Novak was the first one to
Yeah,
get asked about it.
he was
And
he was the pawn on the
yeah.
chessboard.
So that was kind of, I think, and unless he said I'm for equal pay and that's it. I think people were probably going to find fault in it anyway.
Yeah.
Um but and also there was another point where he said that what Raymond Moore said wasn't politically correct or
Oh
something. He
yeah.
said something like that. Was that Novak who said that?
I don't know. I don't
I
remember the
can't
initials
remember.
of
I
it.
know
Yeah.
somebody came out, or maybe that was the ATP. Somebody came. I wish I just thought of that just now. Or I would have looked it up. But somebody in that first day said, "Oh, he wasn't politically correct." And a
Oh.
lot of people were upset at whoever said that. I can't remember who said it now. I'm so mad at myself. But people can correct me on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm sure they will.
And they will.
I'm sure I'll get some kind of heat from somebody. Um, that they said about not being politically correct, and everybody was like, "This is so beyond that, though." Somebody official
Yeah.
said that, and everybody's like, "It's so not." It was just, oh gosh, this whole thing was a
Yeah.
mess, and poor. And then they didn't ask Rafa.
Yeah, they didn't have, yeah, Rafa, we don't know who paid off who for that. They didn't
Yeah.
ask him
Well, I
about it.
don't know if maybe they were told not to. I don't know. Well, also, I don't know who was in the room because I'm not in Miami, and one of my coworkers was like, but we never asked questions in pressers. And I remember she asked me, my coworker asked me if I had a question for Novak, and I go no, because I assume he's gonna get all of them.
Yeah,
Like he's,
exactly.
but then he said that he didn't want to talk about it anymore. So they didn't grill him. But I I don't know what happened with Rafa or who was there because I know Ben wasn't there.
Mm,
So I don't know what the difference was
right.
in the pressers and who has been asking those questions. Because maybe the people that normally ask the questions weren't there.
Yeah, and it also happens a lot of times that people ask questions in pressers because they're going to write an article about it, and a
Yeah.
lot of these articles have already come out. And
Well,
so it might have just been that everybody's like, we got all the reactions, we've gotten from Nole, from Roger, from Stan, from Vika, from Serena. It's like maybe they
yeah, I
felt like
think
it was played out already.
yeah,
And
everybody got. But I think a lot of people were waiting for it.
yes,
Um,
definitely.
so that was definitely a weird move. But again, I don't know if people were kind of told kind of to drop it. I don't know if it was just played out or the people that were there because it seemed like because my coworker was sending me quotes and stuff. She was live texting me, and it just seemed like silly questions. It just seemed like it was such it was like baby questions. It was just how do you feel? What do you think of the next generation? Um, it was just about tennis and not really about anything.
Yeah, it might have just been a different crowd. And a lot of times it depends on when the press conference happened, because if there were like big matches going on at the same time or
Oh yeah.
some other event, a lot of times a lot of people will be there and they just miss
Mhm.
because they figure, oh, it's the first press conference. A lot of times those conferences are weird and they ask random questions because there's
Yeah,
nothing to talk about yet.
it was actually rescheduled. Rafa's presser was supposed to be after his doubles match.
Uh,
Um, with Verdasco, but it actually got rescheduled for the following day.
uh,
And I don't think I looked at what was on court at the time, but yeah, so it was weird. So he didn't have to have any weird questions unless they asked it in Spanish. But English did not ask him, so he had an easy day. I
yeah.
bet he sighed with relief because I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm sure he probably knew was well aware that it was a possibility that he was going to be asked
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't. It was very weird.
He dodged a bullet.
He did. He did. I joked with my coworker before Novak came on. I go, "Oh, I'm sure he's looking forward to this presser."
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Novak because I do think he gets a lot of crap when he doesn't deserve it. But when people are extra hard on him. But yeah, we'll talk about Novak more later. All
There's
right,
always more to say.
and oh, we're still not done with this. We
No.
have so much to talk about. And Billie Jean King and Chrissy Everett held a press conference about equal pay. And I know Valerie wants to talk a lot about this presser.
Yeah, which we talked a lot already, so we might
Yeah,
we might talk less.
yeah.
One of the things I thought was funny was Billie Jean King said that she had got about 300 requests for interviews after this whole sexism thing happened, and so she decided maybe we should just hold a press conference
That's
and make it easier.
yeah.
And what I liked about this was it was Billy and Chrissy and Nicole Gibbs was there to contribute, and it was like a very positive event. They
Mhm.
kind of talked about history and things that were important to them, and how they've tried to grow the sport, and they want to work with the men's game and feel like everything would be stronger if we worked together. And I don't know if it was in here, but I know Billie Jean talked about this before. That was very upsetting to me. Was that she said when they first were starting the WTA, she offered her support to the ATP, who were at that time going to boycott Wimbledon because they wanted more money and things like that. And she offered that they would also strike against the tournament, and let's do like a solidarity kind of thing. And no one returned her calls.
Ugh.
They didn't want to have anything to do with her. She said she wasn't asking for anything in return, just hey, we'll support you and let's work together. And it's like from that point on, those two organizations have remained separate. And it was disappointing that hearing these kind of remarks and stuff, that it's not enough has changed. Like they've
Yeah.
worked so hard, and then people are still thinking, oh, those women should get down on their knees. It's just
Yeah.
like, ah. So, but it was kind of cool because Chrissy told a story about how she was so intimidated by Billie Jean King when she was in tennis, that she was a teenager. And she said that she said, I was kind of growing up in a culture where dads worked and moms stayed home and worked in the home and took care of the kids. And she said, and then Billie Jean was like, she said she was bold and she was aggressive and she was damn smart. That was very intimidating to me. So I said it was like an awesome thing where they kind of just talked about the history and stuff. And the one thing that was upsetting was Nicole Gibbs said that she had talked a lot about this on Twitter, and that many of the women players came up to her afterwards and said that they appreciated her speaking out because they were themselves either afraid to say anything or their coaches told them to stay out of it.
Yeah.
And that part really pissed me off because we all know that most of the women's coaches are men.
Mhm.
And then I went, on top of it, your coach is your employee. The
Yeah.
players hire their coaches. So,
That's oh, I didn't think about that until you just said that.
yeah, it's like your coach advises you on how to play tennis, and you can take his advice or not, as many players have. It's like they work for you, you pay them. So for these women to say, oh, well, my coach told me not to say anything, it
Oh my
enrages me.
gosh.
And
Oh my.
apparently Nicole was pretty upset about it too. And Billie Jean asked her, well, what did you say to them? And Nicole was like, well, I didn't want to scare people off, but raging at them. But she said she felt really upset that they kind of just left her hanging out there, speaking for all women,
Yeah.
while they were secretly agreeing with her but not backing her up, and that was
Yeah.
upsetting to her. And that's like another issue you could talk a long time about, how maybe a lot of times men advance more because they stick together more. And it's that still women have been socialized to be accommodating and not make any
Mm.
waves. And that was what Christy had talked about too in the past, about you weren't supposed to say anything or speak out, you had to be worried about your image.
Yeah, if you speak out, you're a bitch.
Exactly. And that, like, a lot of that has not really changed. The one difference that's has happened is they said, when they would go to press conferences, it was all men.
Mhm.
And while a lot of times it's still predominantly men, there are a lot of women now in the press room, so you can sometimes feel a little safer to say things. And
Yeah.
so they talked about how Nicole said that she told some people that I'm going to be writing a blog about this issue. Would you be willing to give me a quote then, and to give your opinion on this? Because she said, I don't want to tell anybody how they should think or react, or that they have to speak up. But she says if people want to, it would be nice if they would, and they should feel able to. So I thought this was important that this went on, and I would hope that some of these female players would think about this, where it's like you have to speak up about some of this stuff.
Hmm.
It's the only way it's going to change.
Yeah. Yeah, and I loved this press conference. I think there was a lot of positivity in it. And the one negative that I found was from Chrissy
Oh, yeah.
with, and I know we kind of, I know you kind of defended her a little bit, but I didn't like when she said that it was cultural and that she was very, you don't hear the American players say that. And we're, you know, as a country, we have progressed more than some of these smaller European countries. And and she was very, USA, USA.
Yes.
And it did make me cringe because I feel like a lot of people hung on that and it took away from a lot of the positive things that she said. And that's why I kind of regretted not making notes because I probably already said something that I'm not going to like later. Um, I wanted to make notes because it is a topic where we have to be very careful what we say
Right.
because it is so easily going to turn against us and take away from what we're really saying.
Right.
And I feel like the US in a way is more progressive, has a more liberal maybe mindset than some other countries. But at the same time, we still have a long way to go. And as a country, not, and I know she was talking tennis specifically, but at the same time, I think it was poorly said, and I think as our culture and our society across the board in all countries, we have to change our dialogue and we have to change how we speak against women and how we speak, you know, like I said earlier about removing the more violent comments and changing how we feel and changing the news media and how media coverage and the way we speak. And I think because it is cultural, we're taught one thing, boys are taught another. There's a very big gender divide between us. And like you said, girls are taught to be accommodating and all these things and men are taught to be rugged and rough
Right.
and not emotional and there's some things that are against men as well that they're told not to cry, they're told not to be sensitive and we need to be more gender neutral as a society across the world. And I when we talk about this, I don't want us to pin countries against each other or say somebody's better because I feel
Right.
like what Billie Jean said, once you say you're better, you need to stop.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't help the conversation because then people are going to get defensive and go, "Well, how dare you say America is more progressive? Because look at this." And
Right.
look at what we've done and it creates the wrong kind of dialogue and it detracts from what we're really trying to say. So I was very disappointed when she started talking that way because I felt like people were going to hone in on that and it was going to kind of ruin the conversation a little bit.
Right. It's another one of those cases of another person who should have stopped talking after saying just a couple
the
of
thing
things.
the thing that she killed me about was she goes, "I probably shouldn't say this. I'm going to get in trouble." Okay, you're starting off bad. You know what I
Right.
mean? If you
Right.
think this is going to be controversial, this is going to sound bad, don't say it, especially in what they were trying to do. And I
Right.
loved a lot of the stuff that Billie Jean King was saying because it was about togetherness and not we're better and you're not. It's
Right.
about changing the dialogue and coming together as one and supporting one another and being a team and coming together and not one person better than the other. It was about harmony. And I felt like Chrissy's comments were a little bit of a misstep and off the direction that they were actually trying to create.
Right.
Um, and it's a tough issue, and I'm sure I've said things where I'm going to be like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that. But, because I want my message to be, you know, coming together. And I feel like a lot of men, I feel like it's just a viewpoint, how we were raised and how we see the world. And like I said earlier, most women have stories of abuse of some kind. There was an article I read where they asked women what weapons they carry with them. And a lot of people carry pepper spray and little pocket knives and don't feel safe walking alone.
Right.
Um and it's shocking when you read that. And I think men, have a different viewpoint of the world as a whole. Not everybody. I'm, generalizing, but I have had a lot of conversations with my guy friends who just struggle to understand it because they haven't seen abuse, they haven't seen catcalling, they haven't
Right.
witnessed it themselves. So it's hard for them to understand it.
Right.
It's hard to understand how we've struggled, how we've come overcome a lot of these things. And I had a lot of conversations with guy friends who were being sexist and didn't realize it. They had no idea they were sexist. They had no idea what they were saying was abusive in any way. And it's just, and that's why I think, the news media and everybody, we need a language shift, because I think that's very important, because a lot of people don't even know they're being abusive. And
Right.
that's why I banned my friends. My guy friends are not allowed to say not all men. The term not all men is not allowed to be used when speaking to me. I kind of banned it, and I kind of explained you know, why that doesn't help progress us, and why, that is offensive to women. And I explained it to them, and then they're like, "Oh," I gave them examples, and they're just like, "Oh, well, I get it a little bit better now."
Right.
And it's still a long way to go. And I think I was talking to this guy online, who I will not say his name, who we mentioned earlier,
Yes.
and I mentioned that I had abuse in my life, and that the language needs to change, and the tolerance of this abusive language needs to just not be tolerated. And he didn't talk to me after that. And he didn't respond to me talking about my own abuse. And I think it made him feel uncomfortable. He felt like he's, in a losing battle because I will not change my viewpoint.
Right.
But I think, instead of going men are better, you know like Billie Jean King, as soon as you feel like you're better than someone, stop, put your ego on the shelf. And I would love to see more dialogue of, you know men talking to women, talking about their experiences, talking about, you know, their lives, and what it's like for women, and how I don't think they realize the cultural differences. And yeah, it's a strange thing. I just think knowledge is power, and there's very lack thereof
Yes.
because they don't have these experiences, and they can't possibly understand it because they don't try to. They're more defensive of themselves instead of
Yes.
trying to understand our experiences.
Yes. And I that's what upset me about a lot of the exchanges online was that a lot of women were, you're talking about equality and being treated with respect, and all of the men were just like furious and angry as if we were asking them to, go kill themselves, or, it was like
Yeah.
the proportions were completely off, where it
Mm-hmm.
was like we're just reaching into their pockets and taking all their money away from them, and how dare we, and it's like, oh my god, we can't even have any kind of a dialogue with this kind of, rage going on over not even what we're talking about. It's it was really weird. It was like we're talking about that defensiveness. It's like the men were so defensive about
Mhm.
stuff, and defensive on Nole's behalf and things like that, where it's like he's a millionaire, he can take care of himself. You don't need to be angry for him. It's just been a mess.
Yeah. And it's a tough thing, and I know I've rambled on a lot about it, but it's there's so many layers.
I know.
And I feel like I'm saying too much, but yet I'm still missing so many things.
Yes.
And so I apologize if I'm just been a rambling idiot, but it's a tough thing.
Yeah. So I probably can move on to the next thing. We can jump in at a completely different topic.
Yeah, we're going back to press conferences now. We're not talking about equality anymore.
Yes, but we are
Um,
still talking about Nole.
we're still talking about Novak and press conferences and how at a press conference, a woman stood up and introduced herself as a member of his fan club, which a lot of journalists were tweeting, "Oh my God, someone in a fan club just stood up and rolled their eyes." And she apparently, asked a tennis question, welcomed him to Miami, congratulated him on his Indian Wells, whatever. And she was escorted out quickly after
Yes.
because she did not have a press pass. She had a fan club pass that she created.
Well, this was I wanted a lot. There didn't seem to be like a lot of information about like how she got in there, because I've been told that Miami is like Cincy in that there are security checks, at the door, and then at the door
Mhm.
to the press conference, at the whatever. That it's very hard to just walk in off the street and go to a press conference. So I went and looked at this woman's timeline to see if there was any kind of information, and she had a picture of this from U.S. Open last year, and she appears to be standing on the court, and she has this pass that is not an official pass.
Oh my God, this made me laugh so hard. Just just because it didn't. Here's the thing that blew my mind, right? This woman has a pass. Me and Valerie both have been credentialed.
Right,
We both know what credentials are. We went through the proper channels. We went through the security checks. We did everything correctly. It blows my mind that this woman had a pass that didn't even look like a copy of media credential passes.
right,
Like, I thought maybe, if she faked a pass, like it would look similar.
right.
This was something she printed off the internet that she made herself.
With like a
And
picture of Nole on it or something.
yeah, and her
Or
name
actually looks like Roger, but I don't know.
in her fan club. And it's just, part of me thinks this is hilarious because I just thought she tried something and it worked. And it worked multiple times, apparently. And she was also a
Yeah,
taste of tennis. Um, and she kind of does act like she belongs there, which probably is a big thing.
right.
Where you put on a pass, they see it around your neck, and you walk like I'm supposed to be here.
Yes,
And the also thing about tennis tournaments is a lot of the people that work at tennis tournaments are volunteers.
yes,
And they're not really trained. Sometimes on a door they'll have different letters of, they check the letter on the pass and whatever.
right,
So maybe she says, "Oh, I'm a part of his official fan club," and she had a spiel that made her sound official, and they go, "Oh, okay, okay."
right,
And they weren't properly trained. Um and part of me kind of gets a kick out of this because I go, wow, she tried something and it worked. And kudos to her, because I think all fans, oh, I wish we could sneak behind the scenes. We all kind of joke about that, but we never actually try it.
right.
It's just a thought. And but at the same time, we're both press and we know we're around athletes. Security is a huge thing.
Yeah,
So to know that somebody can walk in with a fake pass that doesn't even look like a real
yeah.
pass and get into a press conference close to a player. I mean, I don't know this woman and I have nothing against her and I'm not speaking ill of her, but we don't know who she is. You know what I mean?
Right.
She could be perfectly sane and lovely and wonderful. But at the same time, somebody else could come in that's not sane and lovely. And, not only hurt the player, but also hurt all of us.
Right.
And it's a very serious security issue.
Yes. And then I tweeted this because I said I was just bugging me, like, how did this happen? And people were conjecturing about it, and they said, well, maybe she did get credentialed for it. And I said, but why would they escort her out then? Because people have asked really ridiculous fanish questions in press conferences before. They've never been escorted out. They might
Yeah.
not be asked back.
Yeah, exactly. I was
But
thinking that too because we had a conversation months ago about remember what was it, Lee Naw or somebody was just fanning
yes,
over her and
yes,
we were talking about the fan thing.
yes. And so it didn't sound like she had said anything outrageous enough for her to be, like, dragged out. Um and they never gave any defense that said, well, we were credentialed. They just kept saying we were let in. So
Oh,
it sounds like it was a lapse. And I said I was upset. I tweeted this because I wanted to hear what people thought, or like, do they think this happens a lot or whatever. And then a lot of fans were going, oh, I'm going to try this. And I was like, oh, now I'm sorry I said anything, because please don't.
yeah, please don't. I mean, that's just
And it what it ends up to is, like, if a lot of people start doing this, then it makes it hard on everyone, because then they're gonna harass everyone, like,
mhm.
is that the right credential? Your credential doesn't look right, or and it's like, and then people who are trying to actually get their work done won't be able to. And there were some journalists that talked to this person that said, it is security's fault that you were let in, but you have to understand that there has to be a delineation between fan events and media events. It's just the way that it is. And it can't just be the attitude, well, if they let me in, I could go. It's a bad precedent to be set.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's such a weird this whole month has just been weird.
I know, it's just been like fuckery from beginning to end, and
And
it's
it's
like,
just
and it's
one thing
only
after
March.
another. And like I made a joke that I was just like, I just want to go back to talking about butts with Valerie. Like
I know.
the time was just simple and we had like one or two serious like topics that we talked about or we talked about matches. That was our serious thing.
Right.
And now we have to talk about so much stuff that's just unbelievable. It just seems like a movie.
Yeah.
A weird movie directed by David Lynch that no one understands.
Yes. and
And
and and bad, like, the things like the drug thing and the match
yeah,
it's like all bad, because tennis, at least in the US in particular, is at a low ebb of popularity.
yeah.
And so when you throw these bad publicity things in there, it's like, oh my God, we're already having trouble drawing people into the sport. And now you've got all this extra baggage. So it has been a rough 2016 so far.
Yeah. Yeah. But oh gosh.
So you had a couple other tweets you wanted to
Oh,
share about.
yes. In regards to this, Jess on Twitter posted a couple of these things. It made me laugh, so I had to share. And it says Ernest Gulbis fan club team leaders in action. And everybody, I'm sure, remembers the Boodles incident
The
with these
Boodles
women.
ladies. Look at his face. It's so cute.
And then Gulbis team leader is not as creepy as yours. Oh, look, the gift award. Oh, here it goes.
There we
Do
go.
you remember this
The
woman just
smell.
leaping on the
I
court to
just
claim her husband? Like,
smell the
and these girls
running.
are like these women are kissing him and just hanging on him, like, and I'm pointing and you can't see me, but
I know. Look at her go.
oh my gosh, I will never forget this. This was the craziest. This was the craziest week because I remember right after this, like the day after, one of my favorite wrestlers is the Kentucky Gentleman Chuck Taylor, and he's an independent wrestler. And there's a show called the Candace and Joey Show on the internet on YouTube, which is done by other wrestlers. And they were at a bar, and this drunk girl gave him a lap dance, and it was the most uncomfortable lap dance. Like he didn't want it, and he looked so awkward and uncomfortable. And he's like, "I don't want to do this. I don't want to. I don't want to do this." And it just those things happened back to back, and I will never forget that week. It was amazing for women just
This is
attacking men.
female empowerment right here. Just go after what you want.
Oh god. Yeah.
Oh, the good
So
old days of tennis.
yeah. Let's and now we're gonna talk about something still crazy. Robin Hassie's coach has been arrested in connection to a murder.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
Um, so I think a lot of people that know me personally know that I have an interest in true crime. However, I didn't particularly want to combine my interest in true crime and my love for tennis. I was fine keeping those separate. But now I have a murder to talk about. So his coach has been arrested. Mark Dijon, is that how you say it?
I would go with that.
He is only 29. He was a former player, and he's been coaching Robin for the last couple of years. Um, and uh, so earlier this year, there was a murder of uh, Cohen Everink. Everink? Sure, we're gonna go with
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna go with that.
Is a millionaire businessman who is around all the tennis players, the Dutch tennis players. A lot of people know him. He seems to be very popular. He was stabbed to death. And um, when they went into Indian Wells, it seemed like it was a very big shock to the Dutch players. They were very close to him. And Robin's coach even told somebody that he had just been to the guy's house the night prior,
Right.
and he was possibly the last person to see him alive. So he has been arrested. As far as I know, he has not been formally charged with the murder. He has been arrested as a suspect, and they are questioning him. Obviously, I am only reading English accounts, so I don't know if anything has really um, come about since I read this last night. And but this was in Amsterdam, where he was arrested and in suspicion of this, and it's just absolutely insane. But I do want to specify that he has not been charged because a lot of people online are calling him a murderer and
Yeah,
things
we
like
don't know
that.
that yet. Yeah.
And I want to specify that he has not been formally charged with murder. He has been arrested and questioned about the murder because obviously, if he really was the last person to see him alive, he is the obvious
Right.
suspect. But we
Right.
don't know anything about the forensic evidence or what they have and what will develop. So I just want to be clear: I am not calling anybody a murderer, and I follow true crime a lot, so I know to kind of it's early in the investigation.
Right.
And but yeah, this month just went crazier and crazier.
Yeah, and this seemed so weird to me because it's kind of like this happened and then they flew to Indian Wells and you're kind of thinking about if you just murdered someone. I mean, I guess leaving the country might seem like a good idea, but
Yeah.
other people that spoke to them said, they seemed upset. They didn't seem like they were hiding anything, or it seems like it would be hard to not act weird. If you had just committed a murder,
I mean,
unless you're a total sociopath. But
but yeah, I guess it just depends, you want to act normal and being upset because your friend died maybe is really being upset because
you did a
weird
bad thing.
yeah, you did a bad thing, or he might not have guilt about it. Maybe it's and also he is trying to get away with it, obviously. You don't want to act guilty, um so there are many different layers to this because you could think, oh, well, he told somebody he saw him, he was the last person to see him alive. That's a dumb thing to say. But on the
Yeah.
one hand, maybe it's strategic. Like, what are you talking about? I was open about this. Why would I say that? You know what I'm saying? So
Right, right.
it's it's murder's weird.
Yeah.
Um because it's, some people are, you just don't know. You just don't know. And it's I'm going to follow this case for sure. So if you want to follow this case, follow me on Twitter. But also if you speak the native language and find out things before I do, please tell me.
Right.
Keep me updated because I'm really curious about the forensic evidence. If there was a murder weapon found at the scene, if it was missing, fingerprints, DNA, all that good stuff. We have a lot to still know.
Right.
Maybe we can create a Netflix special.
Oh God.
Making a murderer.
Oh. Yeah, I'm hoping it just turns out to be one of those. You're the obvious suspect, but it wasn't you.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us are hoping that he really isn't involved and it was, something else. And I mean, it's a very sad thing. You never want to hear about a murder, especially especially, what's funny is I would always say that we're so lucky in tennis. We don't have any scandals, and like
Yeah.
if we do, it's like very small.
Right.
And then this month just gave me a middle finger. It was like, yeah, you think you don't have problems?
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything to say about the murder?
No, I think that's all. We need more information.
Speaking of death,
Oh my gosh, that's an
we
interesting
have.
transition we've got to.
I did that on purpose.
That's a
Speaking of death, we have a death
macabre.
of a bachelor with coffins. Um, I have a very dark sense of humor, you guys. But Death of a Bachelor is actually the name of Panic at the Disco's new album that I've been listening to recently. And
Oh
there's,
my goodness,
the
I did
song
not know
on it,
that.
Death of a Bachelor. And I've been listening to that song a lot. And of course, I thought of Ernest Gulbis, um, the playboy of tennis since Marat Safin left. Has finally settled down with a girlfriend. This would be his first girlfriend,
Far
as
as we
far
know.
as what he has said. He has always said he has never had a girlfriend. All the women know they are not his girlfriend, and he is just a one. He is just all about sex and no substance. And so now we have a girlfriend. I will show you. Um, and she's been with him for this whole year. As far as I can tell, she travels with him. There is some information floating around about her. I won't say too much because I don't know what Ernest would be happy with me talking about. Not that he told me, by the way. I didn't want to make that seem like Ernest was gossiping to me about his girlfriend. I don't know what he would allow me to say. But I just mean that people found out information about her from stalking the internet, and I want to be respectful. So I won't say too much about her, but I love that everybody was kind of shocked that one, he had a girlfriend, two, he had a girlfriend that looked like a badass, and I think a
Yes.
lot of people expected her to look a little bit different, more like the women that he usually would maybe sleep with. And she kind of looks like a no nonsense type of woman, which we all kind of hope she is, because he needs that
Yes.
to kind of like he needs a woman that can handle his crazy
Yes.
and to kind of bust his balls when he needs it and
Yes.
take him down a peg. So, she seems very European, like very strong, no nonsense. Um, I believe she's Russian. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting times.
I was so excited when I saw her because so many of the tennis wives and girlfriends all look the same. A
Yeah.
lot of times they show them in the stands, and I go, "Wait, which one is that now? Is that is that Burdick's wife?" Or it's like they all like look the same. It's like the tennis wife warehouse just puts one out every month,
Tennis
and
wife
they
warehouse.
hand it out to
Tennis
children.
warehouse has a wife section.
The wife section. Wait, what's your ranking? That's you'll get a slightly different model depending. So it's like when I saw her, I was like, "Hot damn!"
No,
She's
she's
like her own
gorgeous.
person. She's
She's
awesome.
gorgeous and she
Yeah.
has that like just that badass like feel to her. And Ernest always said that he had a very long list of qualities that he looked for in a woman, but he always said that she has to have something special. She has to have this fire in her and different than what he's seen and how he loves women and he, you know, likes every woman he meets. But that someone, to really for him to really settle down and have a relationship has to have that something special and fire in her. So I'm sure she is a very special person to get him to settle down because that is not easy. And I think we need to send her an award of some kind. Talk about being a woman working hard to get money. Like
Very
she she like not that sounded weird too.
nice.
Like she just like she said no.
Hello.
I actually had a professional photographer. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast, but I actually had a professional tennis photographer um basically imply that I was giving Ernest blowjobs because he was nice to me.
Oh my god.
And that was like a
Because
huge
that's what it
leap.
takes.
Like, yeah, that was a huge leap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Between being nice and like going down on my knees. Everybody, all these men think that we have to get down on our knees to get anywhere in life. And a professional tennis photographer told me that, and I was floored because first of all, I've never had anything sexual to do with Ernest. We have shook hands. That is all I have shooked, and that was all. And nothing sexual, but also look at her. Come on, she's gorgeous. Like, I'm no, I'm not getting that level. I'm sure she has a lot more brownie points than I do. But the point is, I don't know what my point is anymore.
It's like I
I
don't
took
want
a
to give too much away about his girlfriend. I want to be respectful. She's a total gold digger.
no, but that's not what I meant. I said no, that's not what I meant. I said that she should get rewarded because she got him to settle down.
Yes.
So she should be rewarded for that hard work. But
Yeah.
then I retracted it because I made her sound like a prostitute. Like that's what I meant. She's not a gold digger. I just made her sound like a sex worker, where she should be rewarded because she got him to. And that's why I went into the thing. Anyway, it's 3 a.m. It's a
As you
mess.
were saying, we have to be careful about what we say.
Yeah, and as soon as I said it, I go, wait, that didn't come out quite right. So what
Chrissy
I meant,
Everett sounds a lot better now, doesn't she?
shut up, gosh. Everybody know, you guys know what I meant. You
Yes.
guys know what I meant.
It's
That
all
she
clear
deserves
now.
an award because tying him down is a very difficult job, and she must be a very talented, wonderful person. Um, who gets to see Ernest naked, and we all hate her.
And now I'm picturing tying Ernest down. So thanks
I know.
for
I
that.
thought you were gonna go there, and then instead you criticized me for what I said, and so I have to switch tabs here. Before we get into the good stuff.
That's right. We're going to get into the fun
Um,
stuff now that we've talked for 2 hours about.
yeah, we've talked about 2 hours. Whoopsie. But now it's the fun stuff. We're getting to the. Well, I already started the fun stuff with Ernest, but
Yeah.
we're gonna get going here.
Ooh.
Woo! To INSTAGOODNESS, which is gonna be hopefully faster. And
You don't know
hopefully
that.
less serious. No, when we start to talk about dicks, who knows how long we're gonna
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with Lucy Safarova, who just posted this not too long ago. She said she got a surprise by her coach and her agent, who has a cardboard cutout of Chris Hemsworth as Thor, in her room. So she opens it, and everybody needs to watch it because her laugh is amazing.
Yes.
And I can't play it here, but obviously just go watch it. It's adorable. And you apparently had a story for this?
Yes, because I had a friend several years ago bought me the Legolas cardboard cutout, which I had not been expecting. I did not ask for. But he was quite beautiful. But it's not really the thing you can like have around the house. It's like it's
Oh,
not
I
really like
would.
yeah, for we have like kind of traditional decor and stuff. He's like not gonna really be in the dining room, you know. So we had him down in the basement, which was our TV room
Oh.
for a while,
Oh.
and he scared the crap out of us several times because he was the exact right height and has the realistic looking features and stuff. And in the you'd go down there and the light wasn't on yet, and it'd be like ah. And then we had someone over to check the furnace.
Oh my god.
And he went down there and went, ah! Thought someone was lurking in the basement. So these
That's funny.
seem like a good idea, but they can actually give you a heart attack. So be
Well,
prepared.
funny story. Valerie scared the crap out of me before we started this webcast because I had sent her the link to the webcast for her to come in, but she didn't come in until like an hour later. And I was kind of thinking about what I was gonna say, and all of a sudden she started talking, and like I almost pooped my pants. Like it was terrifying. And yeah, it was terrifying. And then also we have a 6-foot nutcracker in my house
Oh
that
my
my mom
god.
bought. And we would when I lived in Ohio, we would keep it like in the hallway. And sometimes it's by the door, depending on the holiday season. If it's the holiday season, it's in the living room. If it wasn't, it was in the hallway right by my bedroom door. And like I jumped a few times with that because you
Yeah.
forget, and then it's a tall figure, and you're like, holy crap.
Yes. It's looking at me. Ah!
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Okay. This was your pick for Insta
Yeah.
goodness.
And when I tweeted this, when I said this is what every Rafa fangirl wants to do.
Yes.
Just I love just the sheer joy because you can tell this kid just like leapt into his
Oh
arms.
yes.
It's just so adorable.
Rafa.
Rafa loves kids. He's so cute with them, and I
Oh,
just
do we have a video of this? Like, how easy did that kid let go?
yeah right.
Like, did he just latch on like a little leech? Like, I'm here. I'm not. It's comfy.
Yep.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Exactly. I'm not letting go. Forget about it. Mine.
So cute. Yeah. Like, latch on. Don't let go.
So I thought with all the crap spill that's going on, it's like this was so
You
cute.
need an awe moment.
Yeah, I thought we needed that. So Rafa.
Yay. Huh.
this this has been going around on Twitter. Someone found it initially, and then other people kept stumbling on it and then laughing their ass off. This is just one of those juxtapositions of headlines. South Korea, North fires projectiles. Serena Williams fires back. Which, in the midst of all this sexism crap, everybody was really loving Serena because she said so many awesome things.
Yeah.
And so this was just like an extra, like, she just kicks ass.
Yeah.
So,
And it shows how emotional we all are because I think normally like some people would be like, huh, okay, that's funny. But
yeah,
with
exactly.
all the crap that's been going on, we're like, ah, that's amazing. She's gonna save us from South Korea. Like it was just like the funniest shit.
I know, and somebody said they wanted it so they could pin it to their Twitter, on top of
Yeah.
their Twitter. So it's just like, this has become the most awesome tweet ever.
Yeah, look, it has over 5,000 retweets,
Yeah, exactly.
over 6,000 likes. And not counting, that doesn't count the quote tweets.
Exactly. Which
So,
irritates me. Why
oh,
does
I
Twitter
know.
not include that in the stats?
I know, it bothers me too.
I get so angry when it's
And
like
it
I have
doesn't
this
even show up
awesome
like in the like if you click on the thing,
the
like
stats thing.
if somebody responds to you, it doesn't even show up in the responses.
Ah,
Sorry, I didn't know how to describe that.
Yeah, no, I hate all of that because it's like sometimes you have like this awesome tweet, and then if you like share it with somebody, it's like it has 2 retweets, and it's like it does not. There were all these people retweeting it. It's like it doesn't show up in the stats. It's the weirdest
Yeah, it's
Twitter glitch.
awful. I hate it.
We want our
Fix it.
credit. We want our
Fix
credit.
it. Serena got to go fix that
That's
next.
right. That's right.
Oh, wait, what was our last one? There was some kind of callback I was gonna make, and I forgot what that was. Oh,
Um,
no, now I know. We were talking about Orlando Bloom. And remember, at one point we said we were gonna make an Orlando Bloom reference every episode, and we never did it.
yes.
Sorry, that was I was gonna call that back, and then I forgot.
And what's really bad is I was just talking to JD before this, and I said I'm going to find an Orlando Bloom quote and put it in this podcast, and I forgot again.
Yeah, we never. That didn't stick.
Yeah, it's like the intention's there, and it just doesn't happen. This is my own personal thing because I went on a rant a couple podcasts ago about how people think that women always have bad handshakes and they hate each other and all this kind of stuff. And so I thought this video was really cute. It was a good match, friend. Good luck, baby. And this this match was a shame because everybody was hoping for an awesome match because they're both great players and they're kind of evenly matched. And I whatever Hev was doing, Sloane did not know how to react, and she just kind of imploded. And the match went by a lot quicker than anybody wanted it to. So it was a great win for Watson, but everyone was kind of bummed that we didn't get the, killer match that we
Yeah.
wanted. But we got this awesome handshake. So I'm just gonna keep pointing them out.
Yeah. She's gonna shove that down your throat whether you want it or not.
That's right. You're gonna be on your knees and take it.
Yep.
Oh, this was
I
so
wonder I wonder who put this in the webcast.
Roger. Everybody, well, no, Fed fans have been lamenting Fed's absence because of his knee surgery, which he had originally said was walking with his daughters was when he tore his meniscus. And now in the recent interviews he said he was drawing a bath for them and somehow twisted his knee the wrong way. It's like, Raj, you probably just shouldn't have said anything. Because now everybody has been, using like bath emojis and stuff. Oh, the old man can't even draw a bath now without tearing his knee up. So, but he was really, it was like a sweet moment for Fed too, like sweet sad because he said that he actually got scared about the surgery. He was feeling it was okay, and then when it was looming, he started to get nervous, and then when he saw his knee afterwards, he got scared because he's 34.
Yeah.
Surgery is a big deal at any time in an athlete's career, but as Tommy Haas will tell you, the older you get, the harder it becomes. So, um, this was a sweet thing. Everybody was really happy to see Raj back in Miami. He was out on the practice courts. He seemed in really good spirits. And then he withdrew right before his match, apparently with the stomach flu. And a lot of people were thinking, well, maybe his knee just wasn't ready, but it started to come out that he'd been sick during Indian Wells time as well. And Rajiv Ram pulled out also because of stomach flu. So it sounds like there's some kind of bug going around. So we might hear later that more players withdraw as well. But Roger was said he was really upset for the fans. He was supposed to play Delpo, and we were supposed to have a Federer Delpo match, and Zeballos won.
Yeah, that was
the,
so crazy.
the lucky loser. So that Rogers' news was actually less upsetting because Delpo appears to still be having trouble with his wrist.
Yeah. Although for Ceballos, I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah.
I kind of like seeing him do well just because a friend of mine is a huge fan of his,
Oh,
and
really?
he sounds so incredibly sweet.
Oh, nice.
And he's been so good to her over the years. And I remember one story. This isn't my story, so maybe I shouldn't tell it.
So are you going to, or?
Well, I mean, I guess it's public. I don't know why it would be wrong, but there was a one, and I won't say names or where it was, but at one tournament, she sees him a lot at tournaments throughout the years, like I have with Ernest, and she'll talk to him and stuff, and um after a match, he gave her a racket, and because I guess everybody was across the line, kind of asking for towels and everything, and she was kind of standing there, and he gave it to her, and he said, "For my fan," or something
Oh,
like very sweet, and gave her his racket.
oh, nice.
And he's very like he loves like the support, and he's very sweet. And it's funny because I saw him at Cincy once, and he would walk through the player entrance really slowly.
Oh,
And it was the cutest thing because I wanted to call to him, but I couldn't like remember his name. Like I knew
uh,
who he was, but sometimes I blank when I see them in person,
right.
and then I'm always scared that I'm gonna yell wrong.
Yeah,
So
right.
then and then it'll be embarrassing, and then I'll feel guilty. So I don't. But he like most players breeze through the player entrance like no tomorrow. Like they're hauling ass because they don't want they seem like they're busy, so they don't have to sign all the autographs and stuff like that. But him, he walked super slow and would just kind of look around everybody, like you gonna ask me anything? And he just seems like a really sweet guy, and I've never really got to see him play because I don't think he's really gotten on the main stage very often. I don't think, and I know of him more from challengers, but
Right.
everything I've heard, he's a very sweet guy. So kudos to him. I know everybody's very sad about Del Potro, but
Yes, but yeah, it's good for Ceballos, and he is a good player. He played a good match, but yeah, it's always those bittersweet things where it's like I'm happy for one person, but that sucks for the other guy.
yeah. And Del
So
Potro is such a crowd favorite,
yes,
as well as Federer, but
yes,
double
Roger,
whammy.
Roger. Well, and I was personally upset because Delpo gives the best hugs ever,
Oh,
and I even know a fan who got a hug from him that confirmed he gives the best hugs ever. Um,
do you know this personally?
yes,
That's what I thought. And then you were like, I know a fan who said that. And I was like, wait, we're not talking about you?
yeah, no, not me, not me, not me. But a fan I trust. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it wasn't me.
Okay.
Um, no, and Delpo loves Roger, and he kind of treats him like his precious. Like, he just
My
like if he hugs him,
precious.
he like envelops him and like pets his hair and stuff, and it's like the sweetest thing ever. And so the fact that we got deprived of the at net hug is just like
Oh.
because who knows if, when that'll happen again, or so I was really disappointed just for that. It's like everybody was like, I wanted to see the match. Actually, the first time I saw Roger live was in Cincinnati in 2011, and he played Delpo in the second round. That was
Aw.
the first time I saw either of them play, and it was an awesome match.
I was there that year. I wasn't at the match though,
Oh, it was
but I was
incredible.
there.
There was a lot of forehand to forehand rallies, and that was when I realized tennis could be erotic. That
Aw, that was your first erotic tennis
was
moment.
my first erotic because it was just you could feel that like thumping because like when you go to live tennis, it's so much faster and it's like ooh and aggressive and yummy.
You
I
like
just
it fast, aggressive, and in cars. That's what
in
we learned on this
cars,
show.
vroom
This is what we learned on this show.
vroom. So that's the Roger and our Insta goodness, which I talked for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. I contributed to it. So speaking of Roger and
Speaking of
Laura,
Roger, this is Laura's pretty awesome. And she's got Roger's got two of them. He's got emoji shirts that came out, and they are the cutest thing ever. And he's even got his own little emoji face. He's got a shirt that's got the big, version of that. He's got his 4 kids are all little emojis. And the one that cracked me up is the one in the middle is a tweener.
That's what that is. I didn't see
Yes,
that.
it's a tweener. I didn't notice it the first time either because you just see like tennis racket and
Yeah.
guitar and all this kind of stuff. When I really looked at it, I'm like, he's doing a tweener.
Oh my god. You guys kind of know I'm not really a Fed fan. I
Yeah,
want this shirt so bad.
I know it's so cute.
Like it's so adorable. And I always got a kick out of Federer and his emojis.
Yes,
I think we always get a kick out of tennis players and emojis. Cuz
yes,
like Benoit got the panda.
yes.
You never know what emoji Stan's going to bring out.
I
Like
know.
it's just
He has
funny.
used the eggplant emoji.
You've said that I think multiple times on this podcast. You have made sure everyone knew.
It means a lot to me.
Does does. Oh, okay. I have a story about this.
Dun, dun, dun.
Next one. First of all, Milos' face is just amazing in this photo. And he's taking a photo of a mountain of Starburst candies.
uh,
Um, which well, I think so. That's what it looks like.
yes, it does.
Uh, and Milos retweeted it, so I assume it's Starburst. Um, so I was going through my timeline and I came across this photo and I noticed it like days after it was actually taken. I just noticed it a couple days ago. And I look and I see a little duck. Now I work for Outside the Ball and our mascot is Chuck the Duck.
Oh,
And
that's
we give
funny.
away these little rubber ducks that you see here. So I sent it to Maylene Ramey, who's our host, and I said, "Oh my god, is that Chuck?" And she goes, "What? Where did you get this picture? Where is it from?" And I go, they said it's from Media Day." And she goes, "That has to be Chuck. We're gonna own it. We're gonna own it." And I'm sure it has to be because we have ducks all around, and uh, Maylene hosted Taste of Tennis. They were all over the pool. These ducks have kind of been everywhere. So it's not surprising that they would have them kind of around someplace. But it was very amazing that we both geeked the hell out over this photo seeing Chuck the Duck with Milos and a bunch of Starburst. And I retweeted this, I quote tweeted it, and I said, "So that's why Chuck the Duck had a stomach ache. Him and Milos got into the Starburst." And then I go hashtag bad ducks, and Milos retweeted it. And we're just like, oh my gosh. So yeah, everything. So that was kind of very special to us that we
That's
kind of were like,
hilarious.
oh my gosh, Chuck. And we want that to happen. We want Chuck to pop up even when we have no idea where he is.
Yes.
We want him to be like Flat Stanley,
Oh,
where he's
random
just
Chuck sightings.
yeah, where he's just everywhere. We want players to post pictures and all of a sudden Chuck's like behind them.
Oh,
Like
goodness.
your cardboard cutout where he's just
Yes.
like he's just there. Yeah, and you're just like, holy crap. So yeah, so if you guys ever see Chuck the Duck around tennis tournaments, take photos and be awesome.
Be
That's all I gotta
awesome. Be
say.
awesome like Milos.
Be awesome like me. Look at his face. Look how
I,
precious. He's so excited. I don't know if he's like, is it the starburst? Is it the duck? What is he excited
I
for?
don't
A
know.
mixture of both?
Yes,
Is he
maybe.
like, look at there's rubber ducks and starburst. This is the best day ever. I wish our duck had a little sleeve. How cute would that be?
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
We need custom ducks that look like players.
There you go. This is awesome, Aga. This is funny because I was supposed to talk about this during the sexism
Yeah,
thing
you
and I
were.
didn't. Um, when I was talking about Andrine's article, we started talking about how a lot of these things are socialized with men as the default. Men's tennis is when you talk about tennis, you're talking about men's tennis. And I had said that I made a conscious effort a couple of years ago to not compare women players always to men
Hmm.
because it's always this thing like, oh, she's got a forehand like Federer, or oh, she hit that backhand like this, and it's like you don't compare them to other women players, or you don't just say they're awesome. It always has to be, well, they're good because they're somehow emulating a man. It's
Yeah.
and it's like even we as women do it.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to make a focused effort to not do it. And I said, so I started trying to think like I would only make that comparison if it was something super specific where it was right to make the comparison and not just some generalized, like, well, it's almost like a man, so it must be good. And I said, and I started sometimes comparing men to women players. And I knew that I had said at one time that I was marveling because one of the male players had done this squat shot like Aga, because she's known for this. It's so unbelievable the shots she can hit where she just bends down and it's like almost ass on the ground a lot of times. And she'll just whip either a forehand or a backhand from this far back on the court and hit a winner. It's like so amazing. But it made me think of it because I was like, I remember that was one of the first things where I compared a man to her. Like she was the default of awesome. So it's part of that thing where it's like even we complain about the men not seeing the sexism in what they do, but women have to be aware of it as well. So
Yeah, I agree.
celebrate Aga.
Celebrate Aga. And back to Rafa.
And back about objectifying people. Let's talk about Rafa. I tweeted this and I said I think I just swallowed my tongue. He's just he looks banging here. This is
He looks banging.
just I don't know what like over just like the last like month or so, Rafa has just seemed like more relaxed, happier. I think he put on a couple pounds, so the fabulous ass looks even better. He just looks good. And I was joking about it. I said I think he borrowed Felly's shorts because Felly played one of his matches I tuned in for. His shorts were like 3 sizes too small. The pockets were actually bulging in the front because they were so tight. And it was like, Felly, that's a little too much. And then it like Rafa shows up and it's like, oh, maybe it's not so bad after all.
They did a load of laundry together and shrunk all their clothes.
Shrunk all their clothes.
I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm
I
just
am
saying
not
because
complaining at all.
helps out the assets.
Yes.
And my favorite thing is we went over what we were going to talk about, and Valerie goes, and I had it up because I always start my tweets up so you can see who it's from, and she goes, "You're going to scroll down and see his ass, right? Like you're going to scroll down. You have to scroll down for his ass." I'm like, "I got you. I got you. It's good. We're gonna get that ass. It's fine."
That's right. This fucking focal point.
Ugh, I love it.
But yeah,
Fucking focal point. What's wrong with you?
but Rafa, you're beautiful. So we appreciate you. We're down on our knees appreciating you.
Valerie wishes she was down on her knees
Oh,
appreciating you. Oh my god.
there are times when it's appropriate.
Yeah, we're not against that all the way.
Exactly.
When it's our idea,
Exactly. It has to be our idea.
yeah, like,
And we're having ideas, let me tell you.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, moving
It's only
on.
gonna get worse from here. It really is.
Oh God, Borna. I was gonna tweet the other day. I'm like, I'm having impure thoughts about Borna. I don't know what it is about this boy.
His lips look really great there.
I was dying when she tweeted these. I'm like, oh my God.
Leslie is amazing. I want to give her a shout out because actually, I don't think anybody that listens to this webcast has been familiar with my previous work at the Traveling Fangirl, my own creation. But Vanessa Farmer used to work on the Traveling Fangirl and cover Indian Wells. This is her mother.
Oh,
Um, so my friend Vanessa, this is her mother, who I love. She's crazy and awesome and wonderful. And I met her in Cincy one year, and she takes crazy, amazing photos.
she does.
Everyone is amazing, so please go check her out because you will just be like Valerie forever.
He'll just be just sputtering. God, I almost died when I saw this one. I'm like, oh, so beautiful. And yeah, I go down her timeline and pretty much just retweet everything with
Yeah.
various amounts of drool
It
and
was I was on, the outside the ball account, and it was so hard not to just retweet everything.
I know, and it's like I get embarrassed where it's like I should just say go to her timeline, but I'm like I want it on my timeline. I
Yeah,
want to
man.
comment on every picture.
Do it. She's amazing.
She's got a gorgeous picture of shirtless Coley. I mean, she's got great stuff.
No, and not just tennis, like if you go on her Instagram, I don't think her Instagram's private. And she takes beautiful like wildlife photos of like insects and flowers, and just absolutely all of her work is just incredible. And of course, a lot of shirtless tennis players,
Yes,
which are what we're here for, let's face it.
that's right. And
Um
Borna's beautiful lips. My God.
his lips are so full and just
Yes.
like just kissable. And his nose just looks so small and button there. Like it just
Yes.
looks like a little button nose right there. And then his lips are all full, and you got just that tiny bit of scruff,
Yes.
just
And a
that tiny
sexy
bit of
hand.
tickle right there. Ugh. I think we both just lost it a little bit. I feel like we both drifted.
I was like going places there.
You
keep
were going. I was
keep
still on
talking,
his face.
Courtney. Keep
I
talking.
like I was just on his face. Like that's all we were talking about. That's the thing. We were just talking about his face. Can you imagine if he was like in his pose? You know his like "I'm ready" pose that he does on
Yes.
Instagram all the time that we talk about.
Yes.
Like, gosh, it's good times.
Well, as I knew I was gonna have to talk about him because his last match that he played too, he was like drenched in sweat.
Oh boy,
All his clothes
the
were
t-shirt
clinging to
cling.
him. Yeah,
Oh
t-shirt and shorts cling,
oh, the
and
cling.
he was
We're so weird.
enjoying the match, shall we say?
Oh, the cling and the blood flow.
Yes.
We're so
Yeah.
pervs. I don't think we're doing anything for the like
The
sex.
sexism
Yeah,
movement.
I don't think we're helping because we're just like treating them like just pieces of meat with going on.
Well, this is equality. This is what we're
Yeah,
telling. This happens to women all the
yeah,
time.
and we
It's
and
our
we
turn.
and we perv over women too. Not
Yes.
as often, but we do get it
Yes.
sometimes. But yeah, Borna's nice.
Borna does things to me.
We made a joke on Twitter a couple months ago where Tennis Channel had a list of the young next generation. And me and Valerie both instantly looked at the ages. We both instantly, this is how awful both of us are. That like they're talking about the next generation and what they're going to bring to us, and we're going age. Okay, 18, 19, we're good.
We're
Like we could talk about them on the night session, and we were so worried about that
good.
because I made a comment that I did that, and she's like, I did too.
I'm there.
We're
Oh my god. Yes.
awful. It's
Yes.
only gonna get worse, you guys.
Hopefully you get worse. Or better, depending upon your
Yeah,
perspective. Oh my god.
yeah.
I didn't, you know what? Everyone was shocked because I don't really check Stan's Twitter anymore.
What?
I used to check it faithfully because he used to actually be there, and once he stopped answering anybody's tweets except for his girlfriends, I kind of just lapsed. I've become a bad Stan fan. But someone on my timeline retweeted this and I was like, "Oh my god, where is this new? Where is this from?" And then it's like, it was on his timeline. It's like, "Oh, my bad." So, yeah, Stan's showing off his underwear collection that he's still supposed to have some kind of photo shoot for. I think they said now May. We have to wait till May for it.
Oh man.
They're shining it up for us or something. I don't
Come
know.
shining it up. Buffering it up. Oh, I just lost my train of thought.
They're fluffing
Uh,
the floor.
it's very hard to keep focused in this podcast. It really is. I'm sorry, you guys. I usually sometimes
It's
I have notes to keep me on track, but I didn't have any notes today if you couldn't tell by me babbling. But like it's really hard with these guys because you're just like thinking of something, but then you're looking at it and then you're just like, yeah, I'm gone. But I was gonna say something else, but I can't even remember it now.
I'm sorry.
But it's not your fault. It was me. I got Distracted.
It's euphoria and adrenaline.
Yeah. Damn those hormones. Damn these lady parts. I think that's
my
the hardest I made you laugh tonight. I was
my
like,
damn lady boners getting in the way of
damn
my
it.
thinking.
Just getting everywhere, just hanging out. Um, but yeah, I have kind of a Robin Hood thing because I love the BBC series Robin Hood, which is very campy and ridiculous. But I loved it, and I love like the whole bow and arrow look.
Yes.
And I want to learn archery. I love it. I watch it in the Olympics. I love archery because I'm a nerd. And yeah, so this was very pleasant. And it's funny because you guys know I was never attracted to Stan. And and it was that one thing in the bathrobe
Yes.
episodes ago that made me nuts. And then this
Yes.
I'm just like, and then he's all like women equality and I'm just like, "Oh god, Stan. What when did this happen?" Like like he shot me with Cupid's arrow.
There you go.
Yeah, but the best thing, and I'm sorry, I hit my microphone. I don't know if it made a noise.
Is that your lady boner?
Sorry, my lady boner smacked against my ear. You know what that's like, ladies, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry. Anyway, one of the greatest things about this, we lost it. One of the greatest things about this is, and I was so mad at Valerie because she missed it, was during Stan's match in Indian Wells, which was bonkers and absolutely nuts. And I remember being so mad by the end of it, thinking this is the dumbest match I've ever seen. But we're not going to talk about that.
It was
We're going to talk
insane.
about the fact that they put up this photo on TV, and the commentators, which were all male, lost their shit. Speaking of boners, they went on for at least 10 minutes just talking about what a great body he has and how has a great what did he say? I think I told you, but he was just talking about the male physique and how he was going to go out and kill his dinner and he was this manly in his body and they just went on about his body forever. And we've talked about like poor Tracy. Tracy wants to
Yes.
talk about Felly and wants to talk about guys, and the men shut her up. They go, "It's not late enough for that," or they get
Yeah.
uncomfortable and they stop her. But these guys went on about Stan's body for such a long period, an obscene amount of time, like longer than our episode, probably. I'm exaggerating, but you get my point. And I'm just like, wow, do they want to come on the night session? What the hell?
Serious, and that was when I asked you. I said, "Are they? Did they say how beefy he is? About he's a big unit?" Because they go to that thing about because a lot of tennis players are very slight, and if you see Stan in person, he is still he's slender. He has a skinny waist, but he has like powerful torso. And they always talk about his core strength. That's one of
Yeah,
his code for like sick abs.
yeah, yeah. It was weird. They just went on about how he's just like, a great physical specimen,
Yeah.
is what they kept saying.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to
Yes,
remember. I
great
think I told
physical
you
specimen.
that
Yes.
he was a great physical specimen, and they just kept going on and on like they were us. I was like, did we
Yes.
switch brains? Like, am I in the Twilight Zone? Where like I'm like this serious journalist talking about tennis, and they're just like, dude, look at his dick. Like, did they switch?
Is this all in my head?
Yeah, like, is this like some Freaky Friday thing going on?
Is
It
it
was,
a Kukushkin hallucination?
yeah. God, I'm still so mad about that joke. You have no idea. I don't want to think about Kukushka. I'm so pissed at myself for messing that joke up. That was such a good joke on your part. I screwed it up. I'm sorry. I feel
That's
bad.
okay.
Um, yeah. Oh, Stan,
Stan, you're beautiful.
you are striking us with your arrow.
And this goes back to my Legolas kink. So,
Yes, it
it's
does.
just
You're like a
everything just
lost kink. We have so many kinks on this show. I mean, what kink don't we have at this point? So
Ah,
this we're gonna end on a weird note as well because
Because
I
that's what we
found
do.
this. So I found this. Oh no, it's not working. Oh no, it's loading. Where are you? Okay.
Oh,
So
there
I
we go.
found this right before we started. Apparently, Richard Gasquet was getting all his clothes. Oh no. And he forgot something. Apparently, he forgot his underwear. And a little ball girl had to give it to him.
Oh my god.
And like, I watched this and I go, is that his underwear? Seriously? Like, that's his underwear? Like, and I'm like, maybe it's not. But then, and like, poor thing, I don't know how old she is. But I know, like, when I was younger, that would have been horrifying. And I think it was, and he laughed. So I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's his underwear.
Yeah.
Like, and he laughed and kind of looked like, oh God. And yeah, so he left his underwear and some little ball girl had handed to him. And like me, I would have been horrified as a young girl, like having to hand his underwear to him.
Yes.
That's just horrifying. And
Yes.
it's hilarious. And
And
it's
it and
just
then she kind of just like tosses it. You can tell it's more like the 2-finger hold, like, sir, sir, you,
hell
you
yeah,
dropped your underpants. Oh,
barely touching it.
oh my god, she had like a little pair of tongs or something.
They need to go. Sorry, God, it's late. I'll listen to it. Oh my God. They need to get a little pocket. We got a keychain. Oh God. Oh God. I'm gonna get the hiccups. I better stop. Oh my God. They need to get little pocket tongs on a keychain to hang on their shorts. You never know when to stray under. Oh God, this is the worst. Oh God. Oh God, this is the worst. Oh God, it's like 4 a.m.
Oh my god, somebody just retweeted the Roger Rafa video from a few years back when Roger couldn't stop laughing. This is where it's our homage to this.
Oh my gosh.
Courtney's completely gone.
It's 4 a.m. and we're talking about Gasquet's loose endings. It's some poor little ball girl in it. We gotta go. I'm gonna lose it.
Oh god, just quick, click on the next tab.
Okay. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, that's so ridiculous.
Oh, so we will end with Dom holding his cock too.
Oh, that you had that ready to go. You had that geared up. How long were you thinking that?
Hours. Which is how long this podcast has been.
Yeah, sorry about that. But I think it ended on a good note.
I think it ended on a very
Oh
good
my
note.
gosh. And by the way, Outside the Ball took this photo.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
they did.
some other photos that have been shared. And seriously, go on Outside the Ball's timeline because we have so many photos, weird photos of tennis players holding random creatures. Taste of Tennis where they're all dressed up looking pretty. And the Sangha missing baskets in basketball. It's a hoot. Like there's so much stuff there. Go through our timeline. We have presser stuff, all kinds of stuff, and I worked really hard posting those really fast. Oh, I screwed up. Don't tell anybody, you guys. Let's just keep this between us. But earlier today, I was posting where Sangha and one of the basketball players that they were with, they were doing the spinning the basketball on their finger.
Yes.
So I did emojis where I did like a little finger in the basketball. Well, I'm new to an iPhone 6 and I accidentally kept posting the middle finger emoji instead of the pointer finger emoji. Luckily I caught this and I deleted all the tweets and then redid them with the right finger. And it was funny because one of my boss actually favored one of the tweets, the bad ones, and she didn't because it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
It's
When
really
on
hard
the
to tell.
phone, especially.
Yeah, it's small and you just see the finger and you can't really tell what finger it is. but I quickly realized it was the wrong finger and on my work account. Where if it was on my regular account, I wouldn't care. I would just thought it was funny. But on my work account, I'm like, I gotta fix that. So I'm in like panic mode, like no other, trying to delete all the tweets to make sure no one retweets by the time I, you know,
Yes.
have to fix it. So yeah, God, it's been an adventure, man.
So like Dom, you were flipping the bird.
Oh my god. That was a slam dunk. Slam dunk. You're on point tonight. You're on point. Clap, slow clap.
Give
Slow
myself
clap.
a round of applause.
That was great. That was good. I was off my game. You were on your game. That was great. I just want to go back and talk about Richard's undies for another hour. God,
Oh,
I didn't
so
expect that to kill me as much as it did, but honestly, like I just found it right before we went live, and it just like, oh my god, that's his undies. That poor little ball girl. Like, what if her mom's in the stands and she's all like,
oh, no.
and like she's touching it like it's a plague, and I know because I remember one year for Christmas, I accidentally opened my mom's boyfriend's present and it was underwear.
Oh no.
And it was weird and I was uncomfortable. Even though he never wore it, it was brand new. It was still uncomfortable for me.
That's right.
And that poor little girl had to hold it like it was diseased. And he's just laughing like, oh, that poor girl. Anyway, so if you want more of us, follow us. Follow Valerie on Tennis Inside Out. And hold on, I have to follow her on tennisinsideout.com and at Tennis Inside Out on Twitter. And me, you can follow at Courtney Mania and at outside underscore the ball.
With
And
Chuck
you
the
will
Duck.
have a ball. Boom. Sorry, I don't know. I'm tired. It's 4 a.m. I'm a
It's
mess.
awesome.
I just.
So,
Okay.
thank you for joining us in our endless ramble about the fuckery that's been the tennis season so far, and listening to us laugh hysterically and ruin any good work that we've done about the sexism issue. And this has been the night session.